Everyone else woke up in the survival world with a blank treehouse seed and no way to tell good dirt from bad. After 7 failed creator authority unlocks, I got a consolation prize called item identification. That ability let me read the color grade of any soil, plant, or beast, so I planted in rare blue soil and grew a purple treehouse no one could match. By the first event, Seo Shin sat alone atop the district. The junk seed had crowned me number 1. If this hook caught you, hit like and subscribe to lock in your spot for the next part. Both buttons matter, but to feel the win, you need to feel where I started. Let me take you back. I wake up in a jungle. The insects around me are screaming so loud I cannot believe I slept through any of it. And when I bolt upright, I find myself lying on a square stone slab in the middle of dense forest, sore all over, like I spent the whole night on a hard floor. I sit there dazed a long while before I accept that I am not dreaming. The last thing I remember is crawling into bed, so I have no idea how I ended up here in short sleeves and shorts I have never owned in my life. For one cold second, I wonder if I have been kidnapped. Then a voice echoes inside my skull and snaps me fully awake. It welcomes me to the survival world, says my only objective is to survive, and that I should forget everything I once had, and promises a grand gift for all newcomers, a treehouse I must never abandon, because it is my only reliance. A second message tells me I have obtained 1 treehouse seed and have 3 days to choose a place to plant it, after which it cannot be moved. A third says I am inside the newbie protection period, that creatures will not attack any survivor for 3 days, and that I should plant my treehouse as soon as I can. A treehouse seed, a newbie protection period. Wonderful. None of those words mean anything to me yet. While I am still chewing on all that, a ball of light blinks into the air, and when I reach for it, a seed the size of a walnut drops into my palm. The voice calls it a treehouse seed that grows a small treehouse, the most basic survival security a survivor can get, and tells me to find fertile soil. Is this a game world? Why is there a newbie gift pack, and whose voice keeps speaking in my head? I pinch myself with my fingernails, the most primitive test I know, and the sharp little jolt of pain tells me everything. The message said all newcomers, which means there are others scattered out here in the same mess as me. A whole survival game where everyone lives or dies. If you fail, do you die? I do not know, and I am in no hurry to find out. I climb off the slab and stretch, my body normal and my energy strangely full. The seed is pale yellow and surprisingly heavy for its size, about the weight of an egg, and I cannot tell whether the line about fertile soil is just flavor text or whether the richness of the dirt actually changes how the treehouse turns out. A city kid like me cannot tell good dirt from bad, that is for sure. I grumble that this game does not even come with a tutorial, which is honestly discouraging, but I travel for work often enough that being dropped somewhere strange does not break me, and the 3-day window means I am safe for now. Since I am here, the only thing to do is find a way to live. Then a line of cold text cuts in, announcing that the survival world is unlocking creator authority, whatever that means. The next message says the unlock failed and is attempting a second, then a third, and my stomach tightens because a major bug right at the start would be a disaster. The attempts keep climbing and failing until it announces a 7th, by which point I have given up expecting anything, and just pray nothing breaks. Then it tells me the full unlock failed, but that it is opening partial creator authority for me. Item identification. It failed in the end, but partial creator authority, that is something. I have played sandbox games before, so I know creator mode is a completely invincible state with infinite resources. Basically a built-in cheat. Item identification then. I glance at the seed and its description has already changed, telling me it grows into a short small treehouse in barren soil, a small treehouse in ordinary soil, and a tall small treehouse in fertile soil. So this is item identification. This is genuinely something. I look down at the dirt under my feet, and a description blooms in my vision, naming it barren soil of white grade, the most common kind, low in organic matter and nutrients. I really can see the fertility of the soil. When I sweep my gaze across the ground, it all lights with a faint white glow, all of it white grade, and one by one my surroundings label themselves. The stone slab reads as white, my spawn point, useful for nothing but making my body ache, breakable with a chisel. A poplar tree reads as white, a common jungle tree that can be chopped for wood. A cluster of mushrooms reads as white, an amanita mushroom, poisonous, the kind I could eat if I wanted to die. So I can tell at a glance whether a fungus will kill me. This ability really is impressive. Everything around me is white grade, which makes sense for a spawn point, so I decide to set out and find fertile soil and food and water, none of which should be hard in a jungle. If I had not unlocked item identification, I would never have bothered hunting for fertile soil, because how would a city kid who cannot tell one grain from another ever judge dirt by eye? But now I have a way to tell, so I cannot give up. 3 days of protection is my safety net. I tuck the seed into my shorts pocket, check the slab and the ground one more time, and confirm there is not a single newbie tool waiting for me. Just a seed and good luck. I set off, crunching across fallen leaves in one chosen direction. Item identification active, and the objects around me flaring white. The protection period seems to have emptied the jungle of everything but insect noise, and the range on this ability is generous, because even with my view tangled in trees, everything near and far lights up. After a while, a flash of green slides into my vision and lifts my mood, and though I cannot see the source, the glow is enough to point my way, so I quicken my pace toward it. Before I even reach the source of the green, I hear running water, and the small worry I had been carrying finally settles. There is a clear stream, a couple of meters wide and only a few dozen centimeters deep, the current fast over the rocks. I dip my hand in, and it is bone-chillingly cold, enough to make me shiver despite the sweat from my walk. The water labels itself as fresh water of green grade, drinkable straight, though the description still nags me to boil it and drink plenty of hot water. It is drinkable. I drop all pretense of dignity and plunge my whole head in, gulping like an animal. At home, I lived on iced soda and never touched hot water, so cold stream water does nothing to my stomach. And as long as the quality holds up, I am fine. I wipe my mouth and stand, noticing fish and shrimp flickering in the current. The water's so clear I can count the stones on the bottom. One smooth stone reads as a pebble of green grade, washed by the stream, apparently a raw material for some kind of tool. Why is it always apparently, I wonder? What tool does this thing actually make? I figure a workbench, if this world has one, is something I get inside the treehouse. So for now, fertile soil stays my priority. The land along the stream is all barren, but I am not discouraged, since at least I have water, and following the stream might lead to a river, a lake, maybe even the sea. I rest on a rock and look up at the sun, close to noon, and even though I usually skip breakfast, the long walk has left me hungry. I follow the stream downstream, and soon green light appears again. This time I do not bolt forward. I stop and squint to gauge the distance, somewhere around 1,000 meters, likely the effective range of my discernment ability. It is more than enough, because as long as my line of sight is clear, I can read the grade of every resource within a kilometer. And though I see only the glow and not the thing, the glow points me where to go. My opinion of this ability climbs another notch. I speed up and quickly reach the resource, throwing off the green light. The moment I see what it is, my eyebrow goes up. Food. In this jungle, there really is no reason to worry about going hungry. Better still, it is a food I have never tasted, which delights the foodie in me. The bush is buried in a patch of shrubs, and without the green glow I would never have spotted it. Reading is red berry of green grade, an edible fruit that can be eaten raw, sweet and sour, not very filling but thirst-quenching and delicious. I pick one, wipe it on my hand and pop it in my mouth, and it tastes like nothing I have had before, wild and bursting with juice. There are a few dozen in all, so I strip the bush, rinse them in the stream, eat a dozen to take the edge off my hunger, and stuff the rest in my pockets, careful not to crush them against my legs. I keep moving, tossing a berry into my mouth now and then, content. The afternoon is not a waste, the green light showing up in my vision more and more often. Besides the stream beside me, I find an apple tree 400 or 500 meters off, and pick 3 apples, gather a few edible mushrooms, and find some medicinal herbs that can be crushed onto a wound. Since I have no bag, I peel off my short-sleeved shirt, rinse it and knot the collar and sleeves into a makeshift bundle. The other green resources, stones and trees, I cannot carry, so I leave them. The sky darkens. Without a light source, I cannot push on, because my discernment ability only paints objects with a glow, an illusion with no real illumination. Though strangely it works better at night, the light's sharper without the sun washing them out. I need to rest before it is fully black, since the protection period keeps creatures off me but the dark makes travel impossible. Worst case, I sleep by the stream, but no animal attacks does not mean no danger, and the open does not sit right with me, since a rainstorm could leave me soaked and sick. A little further on, just before the sky goes black, I find a cave, the green light having guided me here all along, 200 or 300 meters from the stream and glowing at the mouth. The cave reads as a black bear cave of green grade, the home of a fierce black bear that lived here until a mysterious force recently made it go missing, and it will not return for at least 3 days. A bear's cave. Of course it is. Lucky for me, the protection period emptied it, because stumbling to the mouth of an occupied bear den could have cost me a limb. I am a little afraid, but I trust the description, since this is a feature of creator mode, and if even this lies to me, I might as well die and find out whether dying sends me home. I step in only a little, since it is pitch black, and sit against the wall near the entrance to unpack. After an apple, I treat the day's injuries, because walking the woods in short sleeves and shorts left my arms and legs scratched raw and swollen with red welts. Back home I would have ignored it, but here an infected wound could turn into something far worse, and luckily I grabbed medicinal herbs. 1. A hemostasis grass of green grade crushes onto a wound to prevent inflammation and speed healing, looking like plain grass that I never could have found without my ability spotting its glow. I ground it between two flat stones I washed at the stream, and smear the paste over my calves and arms, and the cool comfort spreads until, after a full day of walking, I drift off without a fight. I wait to daylight, my calves and arms healed completely once I wipe away the dried herb. The scratch is gone as if they never happened. This hemostasis grass really is something. Faster than any medicine from my old world. Still uneasy about a bear den even now. I get up and walk out quickly, gnaw apples and berries for breakfast, and head back down the stream. A full day of walking has changed the stream. It is no longer the thin trickle from the start, widened and deepened to about a meter. Fish and shrimp visible all through it. I do not waste energy chasing them though, because fertile soil is the priority. Along the way I pass only 5 patches of ordinary soil, the rest all barren, and no other survivor either, which is strange. Finding fertile dirt by intuition would be all but impossible. Even ordinary soil hard without an ability like mine, so maybe this world never meant for anyone to grow a high-grade treehouse. The thought actually excites me, because if I find fertile soil, my starting point will sit far above everyone else's. It is in the bag. I decide to find it today because I am done sleeping rough. As I walk, I work out the pattern of the soil and resources. So far I have seen only 2 colors, white and green, with white a grade below. The 5 patches of green soil all turned up where green plants grew, but a few green plants also grew in white barren soil, so white soil mostly grows white plants and sometimes a green one, while green soil so far grows green plants across the board. Maybe green soil even has some chance of growing something higher. While I am still turning this over, a broad sweep of green light fills my vision, and joy surges through me. I jog forward and look toward the source, and the instant I see it I am overjoyed. A lake. I knew there would be a lake. The ground around a lake is far flatter than around a stream, much better for a home, and where there is a lake the resources will be rich. Maybe even a patch of fertile soil. I jog to the shore, and the wide open view after days of tangled jungle pulls a long sigh of relief out of me. The lake is not small, nothing like a great reservoir, but about the size of an ordinary small one. The water clear and deep in the middle, fish and shrimp drifting through it, reeds along the bank, lotus leaves and flowers on the surface. If not for my situation, I could almost mistake this for a park. The reeds read as green grade, apparently a raw material for tools, and a lotus root reads as green grade, a food I can eat raw or cooked. One material, one food. This is the perfect spot to settle down. But is there any fertile soil here? I look around, and a flash of blue light cuts across my vision. Blue light. My eyes light up and I run straight for it. The blue bush sits only a few dozen meters from the water's edge, and it reads as large red berry of blue grade, an edible fruit sweet and sour, with vision-enhancing effects that grant 2 hours of night vision when eaten. Blue quality red berries with an actual effect like that. I can hardly believe it. But the berries are not the real point. I lower my gaze slowly to the dirt beneath them, and it reads as fertile soil of blue grade, very rich in organic matter and nutrients, rare even in the jungle. Beautiful. I clench my fist. I finally found it. I do not rush to plant, instead circling the lake to check for other fertile soil. To my disappointment, this single patch of blue seems to be the only one. But the green soil is everywhere, far more than along the stream. Nearly half the ground reading green, with a few scattered blue spots where blue plants grew from green soil. My guess holds then that a grade of soil grows plants of its own grade and has some chance of growing one grade higher. A place like this lake is exactly what survivors should hunt for, since the carpet of green soil lets anyone who reaches it at least avoid the dreaded short small treehouse. Just the name of that thing radiates insecurity. I search a while longer for more blue soil, find none, and stop wasting time. I return to that first bush and harvest all the large red berries, 32 of them. Then hesitate, because I want to keep the bush but cannot. The patch is only about a square meter, half of it bare, so instead of uprooting the bush I dig a hole beside it, and plant the seed. The voice confirms the planting with 2 hours of growth remaining, then immediately adds that the wild plants in the soil have been automatically cleared. The first line lights me up, the second deflates me on the spot, since as I suspected, one patch grows only one type of plant. The large red berry bush vanishes without a trace, and a sprout pokes through and shoots upward at a speed I can watch, growing into a sapling in under a minute. Truly miraculous. I am a man of action, so instead of watching it grow, I go check the few blue plants I never examined. There are 3. The first is the large red berry, the renewable blue food whose berries regrow after picking and grant 2 hours of night vision per fruit, its effect temporary. The second is a high-quality mushroom of blue grade, an edible fungus that tastes superb and permanently raises intelligence by a tiny amount. But unlike the berry, it is not renewable, and any mushroom I replant in ordinary soil will lose its blue quality. The third is an advanced poplar tree of blue grade, a material resource that yields advanced wood when felled, also non-renewable and likely scarce. The surrounding poplar trees read as medium poplar trees of green grade, still a grade above the white poplar I first saw. 3 plants, 3 kinds of function. Now I understand how this world sorts its items. I leave the red berries, since I already have 32 and do not know how long they stay fresh. But but the high-quality mushrooms I picked clean. The whole patch of over 20, all blue, because even a very small boost each should add up over 20. One patch grows only one tree house, but over 20 mushrooms, all mutating to blue at once, so the number a patch supports must depend on the plant type. The advanced poplar tree I leave standing, having no way to fill it yet. The green-red berries and apples I have eaten had no special effects, so only blue and above carry functions. And with green resources blanketing the lakeside, there is too much to bother cataloging. I pick a few apples and head back to the seed, munching one on the way. By now, more than half the growth time has passed, and the seed has become a towering tree. Is that a banyan? I stare up at the massive thing, its branches so lush it is hard to believe. Banyans have always been called a single tree forming a forest, since their canopies cover enormous ground, and back home, a century-old one could shade over 1,000 square meters by itself. This one is not done growing, but its canopy already spreads over 100 square meters, and as I watch it thickens until sunlight can no longer pierce it, the crown turning into a giant opaque ball of green. In my vision, it begins to glow faintly purple, and the description names it a tall, small treehouse of purple grade, grown from a banyan tree, a high-end product with a lineage other treehouses cannot match, adding that anyone who obtains one is either incredibly lucky or a cheater, and asking which I am. I am a cheater, obviously. I switch off item identification, since my whole field of view has become a riot of color, basically light pollution. Planting a seed of unknown level in blue fertile soil produced a purple treehouse, which must be the seed's nature, using whatever soil it gets to grow the highest treehouse that soil can support. So by that logic, white soil yields a green short small treehouse, and green soil a blue small treehouse. The voice announces the growth is complete, and the treehouse ready for occupancy. The dense canopy seals out every ray of sunlight, and from the outside it looks like nothing more than a breathtakingly huge banyan, with no sign it is a treehouse at all. There is one problem. The tree stands about 20 meters tall, the height of a 7-story building, and even the bottom of the canopy hangs around 10 meters up, level with a 4th-story window. How am I supposed to get up there? I glance at the aerial roots draping down like willow branches, and wonder if I am meant to climb, but my body has no such strength. I take hold of a root anyway, and the instant I touch it, a wave of familiarity floods through me, as if this enormous banyan were part of my own body. Almost on instinct, I make the roots coil around my waist and haul me up, fast, 10 meters into the air, and just as my head is about to smack the underside of the canopy, an aperture opens and I slip clean through into the interior. That was too exciting. I stand there rattled, sure I was about to crash skull first into it. Once my nerves settle, I look around, and the inside is nothing like I pictured. Instead of a space wrapped in leaves, the floor and walls are wooden planks patterned with tree rings, the room the same 100+ square meters as the canopy, and completely empty. I stand dead center over a disc-shaped pattern that seems to be the entrance, and several windows let in plenty of light. When I walk to one, I find that although the outside is wrapped in dense leaves, I can somehow see the scenery beyond, which must work one way, letting me see out but no one see in. The floor is about 3 meters high, and off to one side a staircase tells me the treehouse has more than one floor. I climb the stairs. There are 3 floors. The second is empty like the first, just windows and a circular wall pattern identical to the disc below, which I take for an entrance and exit. So I keep climbing. The 3rd floor is something else. The moment I set foot on it, my eyes lock onto a massive screen embedded in the wall, at least 100 inches across. Why is this suddenly so high-tech? An advanced treehouse comes with a television. Out here, where there could not possibly be a signal. Common sense does not apply to this world, so I step closer. The screen is not hung but set into the wood, the frame nothing but the grain of the tree itself, tree rings and all, and when I touch it, the glass is smooth as a real screen. Yet I find no power switch anywhere. On the floor beside it sits a cardboard box holding 5 bottles of water and 5 bags of bread, clearly a starter benefit, which I cannot burn through carelessly since they keep a long time and could serve as emergency rations. Just then the stream lights up on its own, announcing the treehouse mainframe is starting and listing the available functions as basic material crafting and area channel. Countless options crowd the screen, but only those 2 are lit, the rest grayed out like the losing squares on an unscratched supermarket card. I tap basic material crafting, and sure enough, the treehouse can make simple tools and furniture. There is a stone axe of white grade that fells trees of green grade and below. 200 durability, needing 5 white branches or wood and 5 white stone blocks. A stone pickaxe of white grade mines stone or ore of green grade and below. Same durability and cost. A stone shovel of white grade digs soil of green grade and below, with a very small chance to recover the seed of whatever plant grew there. Same durability and cost. Then there is an item that makes me feel the game is finally beginning. A synthesis bench of green grade for advanced tools, requiring 50 green wood and 50 green pebbles or stone blocks. Found it at last, and before this lake that might have given me a headache, but now green wood is everywhere and pebbles fill the stream, so it will be easy. First though, I need to gather branches and stone blocks for the stone tools. I do not rush down, exiting basic material crafting to open the area channel instead. A little nervous since that name should mean exactly what I think. The introduction breaks me into a grin, saying the channel allows chat and resource trading with survivors in the same area. Naming my location as Jungle Area 188, giving the population as 9,998, and noting the functions go live on the final day of the newbie protection period, with one more warning never to abandon my treehouse, or face the consequences. The final day is tomorrow. After 2 days exploring this empty jungle alone, my mind stretched nearly to breaking. Finding out there is a platform for talking and trading puts me instantly at ease, because being alone too long is a fast road to depression. But first I have stone tools to make. The materials for stone tools, white branches and white stone blocks, can be picked straight off the ground. So how do I get down? I find a circular pattern on the wall like the ones below, press my hand to it, and that familiar sensation returns, my body stepping toward it almost on its own. The wall ripples like soft clay. I walk through into the canopy, and a root catches my waist and lowers me to the ground. Truly amazing. When I grab the root again, the layout of all 3 floors appears in my mind. So I think second floor, and the root coils around me and carries me straight there, meaning I can enter any floor I choose. The whole motion is so smooth it feels like an amusement park ride, almost tempting me to do it a few more times. But getting down to business matters more, since the protection period only lasts 3 days, and I want to gather all I can before trading opens tomorrow. I start scavenging, and thanks to my discernment ability, the graded items glow, though not everything carries a grade. The branches I need only rate white if thick and freshly fallen, the twigs counting for nothing, and it is the same with stones. My real problem is, I still have no backpack, so carrying depends entirely on my hands. And since I found nothing like a bag in basic material crafting, it must be a more advanced item only a synthesis bench can make. With no choice, I stuff stones into my pockets and tuck branches under my arm, gathering 15 white branches and 15 white stone blocks before riding the route back up. I tap basic material crafting and select the stone axe, and the right amount of material flies up out of the pile into a sphere of light, familiar from when the seed first appeared. So I reach in without hesitation, the light dissolves and a crude stone axe drops into my hand, blunt-edged and ugly enough that I wonder whether it could fell a tree at all. Using the same method, I craft a stone pickaxe and a stone shovel. While I am crafting the tools, a special workbench catches my eye, a primary identification bench of white grade. If I place materials on it, after 10 seconds it glows the color of their grade, so even without my discernment ability, other survivors can use one to learn what they have. The catch is that it is as large as a dining table, impossible to haul outside, so everyone else has to drag their haul home before they can even tell what they picked up. I am different. I read the grade of anything at a glance and can pick selectively in the field, and the gap in efficiency between me and them is enormous. For well-hidden resources like those mushrooms, I can spot the blue glow from far off, while other survivors might never find them. And even if they did, the smart move in the wild is to avoid every fungus on principle, since even experienced people get poisoned. None of that applies to me. This creator authority really is a wonderful thing. I cannot rule out that everyone else has an ability like mine, but that seems unlikely, because then they would not be survivors at all. They would be tourists. I grab the stone axe and head out, since this time I need 50 units of green wood, and green poplar trees stand everywhere. I decide to start clearing right beneath my treehouse, because the canopy shades those trees so they cannot catch sun, and more importantly, something could climb one of them and slip through a window, so it is better to have no trees around the trunk at all. The blunt-looking edge bites in cleanly, a white poplar taking 5 swings and a green one 10, each felled tree breaking into 4 or 5 sections as it lands. For most people, 50 green wood would take real time to accumulate, but for me it is far too easy, though without a backpack each heavy length has to ride up trip by trip. By the time I finally have my 50 units, the sky has turned sunset colors, a whole afternoon gone. I slump onto the 3rd floor, exhausted and griping that this efficiency is terrible. I carried up plenty of white wood too while clearing, and I want to use it for furniture, since the treehouse is far too empty to keep sitting and sleeping on the floor. I craft a table, chair, and bed in white wood, and soon I have my first batch. The wooden table of white grade can barely hold a few items and breaks under anything heavy. The wooden chair of white grade warns that anyone over 90 kilograms should just use it as firewood. The wooden bed of white grade says its only difference from the ground is the creaking that ruins any chance of sleep. And sure enough, when I sit on it, the frame creaks enough to set my teeth on edge. Crude, but there is no help for it, and I am not in the habit of sleeping on bare floor where some critter might crawl onto me. I gnaw an apple for dinner. The lake has fish and shrimp, but I cannot catch them. And I cannot make fire either, since drilling wood is hopeless for a novice. So I save my energy and hoard the sealed water and bread, which keep a long time. The synthesis bench should be able to make a campfire or fireplace, so I decide to prioritize it. And with the protection period still on and no dangerous animals around, this is the perfect window to gather materials. The sky is fully dark now, so I eat a large red berry, the blue one that grants 2 hours of night vision, and a cool sensation spreads around my eyes, the surroundings outside the window snapping clear as daytime. I have not finished clearing beneath the treehouse, but tonight I want to find green pebbles or stone blocks for the synthesis bench. I move along the stream scooping pebbles, since I have seen no large green stones and the pickaxe has been useless, and when my pockets fill I knot my short-sleeve shirt into a makeshift bag again. I have to admit the starter shirt is good quality, since it does not tear no matter how I abuse it. Soon I reach the Black Bear Cave where I slept the first night, set on looking inside properly this time. It reads as a Black Bear Cave of green grade, the bear gone after a mysterious force made it vanish. I find nothing of value at a glance, which disappoints me since this is a green grade cave, so why is it empty? Could it be? I raise my pickaxe and strike a protruding rock to test the idea, and I feel that gathering sensation, the same pull as harvesting a resource. Overjoyed, I swing 10 times until the whole protrusion shatters across the floor, the pieces reading as stone block of green grade, rock from inside a cave, harder than ordinary stone. Now I have a source for green stone blocks. The only trouble is the distance from my treehouse, and the black bear returns once the protection period ends, so I had better gather all I can now. I never find the source of the faint wailing wind I kept hearing that first night, so I leave it. Once I have 50 stones, I head straight home, since I need a backpack soon because even 50 pebble-sized stones are a nuisance to carry like this. Back in the treehouse, I select the primary synthesis bench, which finishes at once and asks where to place it. And after a moment, I set it in a corner of the third floor near the screen, since planning a layout can wait. The bench thuds into place, a sturdy stone and wood tool bench with a small ghostly screen hovering at its back. Seriously, why is this so high-tech? The first thing on its list pleasantly surprises me. A backpack of green grade with 10 slots that reduces item weight to a fifth of normal, needing 1 green beast hide and 3 white ropes. Definitely a good item, since cutting weight by 80% means I can carry 5 times my own weight, and this is only a green bag. But how do I get beast hide and rope now? We are still inside the protection period, so there are no wild beasts. The only animals harmless fish, shrimp, and insects. Not even a rabbit, and the land beasts will probably appear only once it ends. For rope, I think of the reeds by the lake and decide to check them later. I keep scrolling. A torch of white grade lets me move at night with a narrow view, warning that a forest fire would land me in prison, needing 1 white wood and 1 white charcoal, or green coal. A grill of green grade burns wood automatically and grills anything, needing 3 green iron blocks. A primary furnace of green grade burns wood on its own and promises surprises, when I smelt materials needing 100 green pebbles or stone blocks. A fireplace of green grade mounts on the wall, burns wood, absorbs smoke and toxic gas, and warns I could freeze to death in winter without it, also needing 100 green pebbles or stone blocks. I rub my chin over the fire items. The night vision from my berries beats a torch, but a torch is a mobile heat source that scares off beasts, so I should prepare a few. From gaming experience, charcoal should smelt in a furnace from whitewood, while coal is not my concern yet. The grill is good, but I have no iron blocks, though once trading opens there will surely be people with iron ore to buy from. The fireplace I do not need in the middle of summer. Come to think of it, most survivors will not manage a synthesis bench this early, since 2 green materials are hard to find, and if winter comes early without fireplaces, a great many of them could freeze to death. The screen says it is past 11 at night, the 3rd day nearly here, and the area channel shows a countdown, 6 hours and 53 minutes until it opens at 6 in the morning. I lie down on the creaky bed, exhausted, and drop off fast. A notification wakes me. The area channel is open. My region jungle area 188, the population now 9,997. And the message tells me that from today on I am no longer alone, warns one last time never to abandon the treehouse that belongs only to me, then invites me to survive together with the other survivors. Grumpy from waking, I still spring out of bed at that, and since my bed sits right beside the screen I tap the area channel directly. Inside are 2 sub-channels, the chat hall and the trading platform. About what I expected, and I open the chat hall to find it silent. Then a single line appears in the quiet, someone asking if anyone is there. Instantly, the hall floods to life, people exclaiming that there really is someone, that they finally found another person, that they cannot believe what these 2 days have been. Others ask whether everyone is in a treehouse and started with just a seed, and the answers come back the same. Me too, same here. One marvels at how high-tech the screen is, while another desperately asks if anyone knows how to log out, saying he had not even saved his game, that he fell asleep at his desk and woke up here. I cannot help a faint smile. Some messages carry names, others show anonymous, and when I click the chat box I find it works like voice input, the system asking whether I want to be anonymous. I choose yes, deciding to watch first. I try calling out my parents and friends by name, but no one answers, and my attempt only sets off a wave of others searching for family, someone calling for a Jang-san in the area, another shouting that Elisa's dad wants him home for dinner, a woman begging a Wang-o to contact her because she is his girlfriend. Plenty of shouting, almost no replies, the few that come only people who happen to share a name. I ask the group how old everyone is, and after a few tries the answers trickle in. Someone just out of college, someone 18 and a freshman, another a junior. One says everyone is so young while he is already 29, and another jokes about being 28 and single since birth, asking if there are any women around, which earns him a scolding for being a pervert at a time like this. to which he cheerfully replies that women are a basic necessity. The youngest is 18, the oldest no more than 30. I graduated college less than a year ago myself, after failing the postgraduate exam in my senior year, studying another year, finally getting into my dream program, and waiting happily at home for the term, only to wake up in this godforsaken place. I mutter that everyone looks to be between 18 and 30, and since I never turned off voice input, it goes straight to the room, the replies agreeing at once. One bitter newcomer wondering if this is the world's punishment for not gaming before he was of age. Another lamenting that his 31st birthday was yesterday, and that 2 days earlier he never would have been dragged in. After a while, I start to understand what kind of people the survivors are. 18 to 30, from all over the country, all relatively healthy, and from the handful around 30, either unmarried or married without children. The game is selective, choosing people who would not disrupt too many other lives if they vanished. Parents not yet old, no small children depending on them. Honestly, that gives me a sigh of relief, since I had been afraid my own relatives might have been pulled in. And for now that looks unlikely. It is only a guess, of course. Maybe this age group is simply the healthiest and strongest. The talk shifts to what to do next. One man admitting he has cowered in his treehouse for 2 days, too scared to step out, and is nearly out of bread and water. Another mocking that anyone too frightened to leave during the protection period is finished. As people drift off to work, the chatter slows, and since my efficiency is high, I am in no hurry. So I bite into an apple and ask where everyone planted their seeds. The answers come thin. One man planting at random after half a day of nothing but trees. Another bragging he found a creek, which sparks a chorus of people begging for water, because their 5 bottles are nearly gone. At least the people talking found a creek at most, none a resource-rich spot like mine. Someone asks whether everyone has a small treehouse. Another says getting one during the novice period is already good, while a third complains his is short and tiny, under 20 square meters, about the size of a dorm room. Even without my discernment ability, they can read an item's name, just not its grade color. Then one post stops me. Someone asks, half to themselves, isn't a short small treehouse just a small treehouse? Then adds that they forgot to turn off voice input. The name attached is not anonymous, it is real, Lee Mun-hee, which sounds like a woman's name. Her post gets buried fast, but it tells me lucky people do exist. Still, someone like me who found fertile soil probably will not turn up twice among nearly 10,000 people, because that takes more than luck, it takes being fortune's favorite child. Unless they have my ability. I leave the chat hall for the trading platform, already crowded with listings. 20 whitewood for a bottle of green water, 10 white stones for any food. No point even looking, since whitewood and stones are free off the ground and no one would make those trades with food and water plentiful in the jungle. I am about to close it when one message catches my eye. An offer of green iron ore for any blue-grade materials. Quantities to be arranged by private chat. My eyes light up. Iron ore. The grill needed green iron blocks, smelted from this very ore, and the poster is asking for blue materials, which means they used an identification table to confirm their goods are blue, or they would not even know the next grade up is called blue. Then I look at the poster's name and freeze. Lee Mun-hee, the woman who just said she grew a small treehouse. Truly lucky, a small treehouse and blue materials and iron ore. Could she be sitting in a resource-rich area like mine? I open a private chat and ask if she has iron ore. Yes, she replies fast, for blue materials. I ask whether she has blue materials herself, and after a beat she answers yes. I tell her plainly I have red berries that grant 2 hours of night vision, and ask if she wants them, and her reply is instant yes, asking how much iron ore I want. I say I want a long-term trade but first want to know the function of her blue material, and she is just as blunt, probably figuring I must have blue goods of my own. So she sends the description outright. Blue stone, she says, of which I need only one when making stone tools to greatly increase their efficiency. This is good stuff, I blurt out loud. A stone axe takes 10 swings to fell a green tree, and since a tool has only 200 durability, fewer swings means more trees per axe, not just speed. Because it was voice input, my exclamation went straight to her, which leaves me a little embarrassed, and she answers with nothing but a long string of dots. I get to business and ask if she is selling, saying I want 3, and she shoots back that it depends on my offer, sharp as anything. I make the first move, telling her she surely has plenty of green stone, while I have plenty of green wood, and offering 50 green wood to help her build a synthesis bench for 3 blue stones. She weighs it a while, then counters with 60 wood plus my red berries. 1 blue stone for 20 wood, and I am still profiting, since I have so much wood I do not even want to chop more, so I agree, but insists the berries trade for iron ore at her price, 20 per berry. Deal, she says. She immediately fires off a trade, 3 blue stones for 60 green wood. Is she always this decisive? I cancel it and explain I have not cut that much wood yet, suggesting we trade the berries first, and after a pause, she asks for 3. I trade 3 large red berries for 60 iron ore. She accepts, and then she opens a new trade, 1 blue stone for nothing. I am confused until she explains she will send 1 ahead so I can make a new axe and start chopping, and that I can hand over the rest when I am done. Kind of cute, trusting a stranger this easily, though she likely has a fair stockpile of blue stones, or she would not front one so casually. I accept and craft the new axe at once, which reads as a stone axe improved to green grade, able to fell blue trees and below, tougher and sharper, 200 durability, comfortable. Her resources are strategic, so clearly I need to stay on good terms with this Lee Mun-hee. And now that I have the axe, it is time to cut that blue advanced poplar tree I found. On the other side of the channel, in a treehouse one size smaller than mine, a short-haired girl turns a red berry over in her hand, her tall frame and toned arms suggesting she works out often. Blue grade really does carry an extra ability, she murmurs, confirming the night vision. Her treehouse has 2 floors of about 50 square meters each, and she walks down to glance at the stones and iron ore piled on the first floor. The haul from a full day of mining once she realized the trading platform would open today, work that drained her. Her treehouse sits close to the mine, and her fitness runs above average, but her limbs ache and her legs tremble, so she plans to recover today and trade her haul for supplies. This guy seems very capable, already built a synthesis bench, she sighs, while she chopped half a day yesterday and saw nothing but white wood. Very strong, but with no iron ore of his own, they should be able to cooperate. She planted beside the mine in a stream because the 2 resources were enough. No point walking aimlessly, and she wonders whether her 2-floor treehouse might outclass the short, small treehouses everyone else describes. She is only a college sophomore, never prepared for survival, and even now it does not feel real, but the thought still gives her a small thrill. Maybe mine is even better, she thinks. So far only I have asked about her iron ore, which makes sense since most people have not built a synthesis bench and can only guess at the materials they gather, leaving iron ore useless to them for now. If this anonymous guy is really trustworthy, she decides a few blue iron ores would not hurt. On the identification bench beside her sits an ore glowing blue, different from the ordinary kind, since her blue stones let every tool gather blue supplies others cannot, and it reads as iron ore of blue grade, needing only 1 piece added when smelting to refine a blue iron block. Just then my message arrives, and she wonders why the guy is back so soon. A few minutes earlier, I had taken the new green axe beneath my treehouse, where half the ground was still uncleared, poplar trees and even white and green share. The first white poplar snapped on the first blow and crashed down in 5 pieces, the same tree that took 5 hits before, and a green poplar fell on the second swing. This is too powerful. 5 times the efficiency, 1 axe doing the work of 5, the real power of blue material, far more useful than the red berry. Like a war god, I swept through and felled every remaining tree under the trunk, the ground buried in white and green wood, and with no transport needed I just grabbed it and let the treehouse haul me up. Stacked it on the first floor, and opened a trade with Lee Mun-hee, 60 green wood for 2 blue stones. It went through, proof that trading works from anywhere as long as the materials are inside the treehouse, and the 2 blue stones landed in my hands. Without a second thought I craft a stone pickaxe with a blue stone block, planning to gather more green stone today, since that black bear mine closes to me once the protection period ends and the bear returns. Just then Lee Mun-hee messages, asking how I collected it all so fast, whether I am surrounded by green trees. I glance at the lakeside, lush green stretching 1,000 meters out. The trees I cut barely a fraction of it, so I tell her yes, I am not short on wood. Then do you also have a lot of food, she asks, and instead of answering I ask what she is really getting at. A voice chat request comes through, which startles me. You can do voice chat? After a moment I accept, and a pleasant girl's voice asks twice whether I can hear her. A social butterfly, nice. Her energy lifts my spirits and I tell her I can hear her, then guess that she wants to cooperate. Wow, your voice is so nice, she says, which nearly makes me laugh. Since over text she had been so sparing she answered everything with a single grunt. That's right, she wants to cooperate, she goes on, and asks again whether I have a lot of food. Enough for me to eat, I tell her, never mentioning the fruit trees, the lake of fish and shrimp, the apple trees everywhere. The truth being, I could feed a whole group without trouble. Good, she says, and lays it out that she has plenty of green stone and ore but only white trees, and judging by my situation I am probably short on stone, so she proposes trading her stone for my wood. Then why did you ask about food? I ask. She admits she was afraid I would be short, and try to swindle some off her, since she barely has enough for herself, then asks flatly, one word, are we cooperating or not? This girl, I remember the blue stone she fronted me and asked whether she really trusts someone she just met. What does trust have to do with anything, she says. What could you do to me? I already have the item. The trading platform means you cannot scam me. In worst case, I trade with someone else. It makes sense, if not flatteringly put. I do not mind though, since I like her personality, straightforward and unawkward, so I tell her I have no problem with the deal. Only that I worry she will not have enough stone. Are you kidding? She fires back. I'm right next to a mine, then catches herself, accusing me of fishing information out of her. Even if I knew, it's not like I could fly over, I point out, because this girl really is interesting. But knowing she has a mine reassures me. Resources truly are abundant. That's true, she says, her face flushing on the screen. Then she suddenly admits she still does not know my name. I tell her, Seo Shin. Good name, she says, and asks how old I am. Just graduated college, I answer. Oh, I'm only a sophomore, so you're older, she says. Then, getting familiar fast, asks whether I have any wood now because she wants more. I start to remind her I just gave it all away, but she cuts me off, tells me to wait, and ends the call. While I am still wondering, a notification sounds. Lee Moon-hee has initiated a video call. You can even make video calls between screens. Bold, with someone she just met, though I understand, since cooperation feels more real face-to-face. Once it connects, she will see my face, what is behind me, that my treehouse is huge, that I am strong. But so what? None of this needs hiding. She cannot crawl through the cable to raid me, and showing strength could give me the upper hand in trade. Caution does not mean hiding everything, because that is not caution, just cowardice. If she is not afraid, what am I afraid of? So I accept. Her image appears at once, delicate features, almond eyes, short hair to her chin, full of vitality. Her eyes light up too, and she tells me I am actually quite handsome. A given, or I would not have started a video, so I tell her she is not bad herself. I look great even without makeup. Okay, she says, puffing out her chest. Genuinely cute, though her chest, well, slightly larger than mine. Impressive, I say. Hey, she protests. She just wanted to show me something. Then her almond eyes go wide as she stares past me at the vast empty space, demanding to know why my treehouse is so big. I let a faint smile show and tell her I do not know either. It was this big when it grew. Then add that hers feels a bit small, doesn't it? She deflates because she started the call precisely to show off her treehouse and smooth the trade, since by the chat hall everyone else has only a short, small treehouse of about 20 square meters. My treehouse has 2 floors, she insists. That's really nice, I say. Right, she says, pleased. But I think I have 3, I add. Her face cycles through several stages at once, and I cannot hold back a laugh while her cheeks slowly redden, and I rein it in and ask what she wanted to show me. She hesitates, flustered now, glances around, picks up the iron ore, and holds it to the screen, saying this. Even through the screen I see the blue light pouring off it, and she sends the description. Iron ore of blue grade, needing only 1 piece when smelting to refine a blue iron block. You even have blue iron ore, I say, my eyes lighting up, since from the blue stone's effect I can guess what a blue iron block does. A rare and valuable item. Yeah, I told you not to worry about ore, she says, then loses the thread again, bursting out over why my treehouse is so big as she stares enviously around my room. It would not hurt to tell her a little. This is a purple grade treehouse, I say with a smile. Purple grade, she stammers, so purple is above blue. She looks at me with open envy and says my luck is just too good, that she thought her own luck was good but cannot compare to me. She never guesses that the changes come from the fertility of the soil, because apart from that one line on the seed about finding fertile soil, she knows nothing at all, and she could never tell which patch of soil is more fertile in the first place. Lee Mun-hee seemed pleasant enough and was shaping up to be a long-term trade partner, so I threw her a little information. I told her to dig the soil around her treehouse, set it on the discernment ability bench, and check its grade, explaining the soil here had grades too, even if neither of us could read the names off it. She shot up off her bed, leaned toward the screen, then caught herself and sat back, asking eagerly what I'd figured out. So I walked her through the patterns I'd pieced together about soil and the plants on it, and the more she listened, the more amazed she looked, until she was staring at me like a genius. She called me Big Shot CO and gushed that I was amazing for spotting a pattern like that. I told her it was just a guess, and asked why she wasn't going to verify it herself. She flopped back onto her bed and asked what good it would do me to lie, since there were no high-grade plants around her treehouse anyway, so even if I was wrong, it cost her nothing. She just hadn't expected me to see so much, and she teased that I must have some special ability. Her eyes locked on mine. She had no idea how close she'd just landed. I laughed and told her she'd guessed it, that I held the creator authority of this world and could rewrite it however I pleased. She rolled her eyes and accused me of blowing my own horn too hard. Half true, good enough. My creator authority had failed to activate over and over and granted me only a sliver of real power, but it was still called creator authority, and I wasn't about to correct her. I glanced at the time, stood, and told her we'd talked enough and it was time to work. I set the stone pickaxe aside. I wanted an upgraded stone shovel first, since the tree was down but the stump still needed clearing, and a memory nagged at me that the shovel had a chance of turning up seeds. Lee Moon-hee groaned that she didn't want to work, that she'd hauled stones all day yesterday and her whole body ached. She was getting hooked on the talking. These past 2 days she'd been alone, her future a blank, with nothing to do but mine, and now she'd found someone to chat with, a good-looking guy at that, and didn't want to end the call. I reminded her today was the last day of the newbie protection period, that nobody knew what tomorrow would dump on us, and told her to drag back as many stones as she could. She drew the word out, then agreed, ache or no ache. She'd treated iron ore like it could buy a mountain of supplies, but now saw she was far ahead, since nobody else had even reached the level of trading iron ore. The chat had drained off her stress, and with work waiting she wasn't the type to stop. A little reluctantly, she said we'd swap information again tonight, and I agreed and hung up. I picked up a blue-grade stone and crafted a stone shovel on the spot. The panel told me it was an improved stone shovel of green grade, that it could dig up soil materials of blue grade and below, that it carried a 50% chance of pulling seeds from plants on that soil, with durability of 200, from near zero odds to 1 in 2. Now we were talking. I grabbed the stone axe and the shovel, climbed down, and got to work. The improved stone shovel pried the tree stump clean out of the soil in a single stroke, and the panel announced ordinary green soil, 1 piece of green wood, and a single poplar tree seed. The stump turned straight into wood, and I'd gotten a seed in the bargain. I dug the seed out of the dirt and read it, learning it could be planted to grow a harvestable poplar tree in just 10 days. Aren't poplar tree seeds the fluff that floats off the branches in spring? Whatever, not my problem to solve. I turned the seed over. Like the treehouse seed, it carried no grade, and even my discernment ability couldn't read its color, so I figured the grown tree's grade depended only on the soil's fertility. The dugout land left a pit, so I filled it and kept going, and before long I had over 20 poplar tree seeds and 40 pieces of wood. I didn't replant where they'd come from though. I flattened the whole patch under the treehouse into clear ground for facilities, or low crops later. No more trees right under my home. I carried the wood up first, then spent half a day felling trees elsewhere and planting fresh seeds in every gap I cut. Call it sustainable development. By the time the sun peaked, it was noon on the 3rd day. I looked at the wood piled across the first floor and nodded, wiped off the sweat, and decided to eat first, then explore the uncharted parts in the afternoon, since the last half day of protection couldn't go to waste. First a bath, my body sticky and miserable. After washing in the lake, I scrubbed my clothes too, and at high summer noon I hung them by the window to dry in under 10 minutes, sunlight slipping through the dense banyan leaves as if they were glass. I ate some fruit and tore open a bag of bread for the afternoon's energy, and as I chewed I scrolled the chat hall. The feed was a chorus of misery, people dying of thirst and begging for water, someone cursing the place as a hellhole of nothing but trees, someone else snapping that there were streams everywhere and asking whether they'd forgotten how to walk. Others couldn't risk wandering far for fear of losing their tree houses, and they pleaded with anyone near a stream to share, since water was worthless anyway. While Lee Moon-hee and I argued over blue-grade supplies, half the channel still couldn't lock down basic drinking water, and I had no intention of playing porter. The crafting list had buckets and basins I could make from white wood, but hauling water up just to hand it across would burn time I wouldn't surrender on the final half day of protection. Let the do-gooders have their moment. Water looked scarce, but for any survivor sitting on a source it was endless, which meant it traded for nothing better than white-grade junk, and only a fool hauls water for 2 hours to come home with scraps. The treehouse chimed. Lee Moon-hee was ringing me with a video call. What was this little beauty doing calling in the middle of the day? She'd said tonight. I wasn't even wearing underwear, so accepting was out of the question, and I rejected it on reflex. She fired a message into the chat window asking why I'd hung up, saying we could talk whenever we were free, and I told her I was washing my clothes. She sent back a small sheepish acknowledgement. Then a voice call request popped up. So persistent. Fine, I'd take it. The second it connected, she asked why anyone washes clothes at midday, and I explained they dry fast at noon, done right after I ate so they wouldn't slow my afternoon. She said that made sense, that she always showered in the evening, and I asked whether it was really appropriate to bring up showering with a man she just met. She stammered, then waved it off. Since I couldn't see her anyway, she'd only called to ask how my morning went and how many trees I'd cut. Enough to trade with her? I told her, and asked if she'd slacked off. She swore she hadn't, that her first floor was already buried under stone, and announced she was resting all afternoon because she was exhausted. I told her that if she wasn't mining, she should at least explore a new direction, since she couldn't waste the last safe afternoon. She complained that she couldn't even slack off after being dragged into another world. Then I asked if she had a death wish, slacking during the safest window of the whole game. She gave in and said she'd walk around, maybe turn up something good, and reminded me to look on my end so we could swap supplies tonight. She didn't have my discernment ability, so wandering blind might net her nothing, but at least she could grab things on instinct and find out what they were back home. The call ended, my clothes were already dry, and I pulled them back on, rested another half hour, then climbed down and set off in the opposite direction from where I'd first arrived. I didn't get far before I stopped cold. Other survivors might miss it, but with my discernment ability, the dividing line was glaring. Inside it, where I stood, the world was lush and green, half of it green-grade resources. Outside it, the land turned to washed-out patches of white with only the occasional green speck. I glanced back and gauged myself at about a kilometer from the lake, the limit of my ability's reach, since I could no longer catch the green glow it gave off. Staring at that vast whiteness, I gave up on leaving the resource area. The gaps between areas wouldn't be short, so pushing out meant burning time wading through an ocean of low-tier junk to maybe find the next one. Better to wait, and I'd only ever circled the lake anyway, so it was time to comb the whole area properly. I spent the whole afternoon at it, and a resource area earned its name. I found a blue-quality orange tree, its fruit edible directly, sweet and sour, invigorating the spirit for 1 hour with no side effects. Energetic? What for? Sprinting in circles? Like adrenaline maybe, and one in a tight spot might buy a sudden burst. Blue was blue, so I decided to strip the tree bare. It sat a fair distance off. I didn't know whether animals would devour the oranges once protection ended, and the panel hinted blue food kept far longer than ordinary fruit, since the large red berry I'd picked hadn't budged in 2 days of heat, while plain ones had gone soft. The tree carried over 100 oranges, more than I could haul and likely to spoil if I took them all, so I bundled 30 into my shirt and peeled one to eat on the spot. Nothing while I chewed, just the best orange I'd ever tasted. Then, on the last slice, a coolness flooded straight into my brain and made me shiver, and the mental fog lifted in an instant. My body was still tired, but it didn't matter. I could keep going. This was a working overtime miracle, an all-nighter in fruit form. Riding that surge, I rushed the rest of the oranges home, back inside a few minutes since it was under a kilometer, dropped them on the third-floor table, and went straight back down for more. My efficiency that hour was unreal. I didn't finish the whole area, but the haul was rich. The panel logged green-grade sour dates, decent as a snack, and green-grade waxberries too sour to enjoy but good for brewing wine. It logged green king oyster mushrooms, thick-fleshed and crisp, and green-black fungus, smooth and tasty, both edible and best cooked first. Nothing exotic, just a pile of ingredients. It made sense. Still in the protection period. No land animals about. Plants could only offer so much. This window was really for choosing where your treehouse went, and expecting heaps of high-level loot was greedy. About then, I felt my spirit easing down out of that keyed-up state, the hour spent, yet I was more alert than before I'd eaten the orange, as if I'd just woken from a nap. So the no side effects line meant the orange recovered my mind at the rate of an hour's sleep packed into that same hour, a thing that could replace sleep, suddenly the opposite of useless. The poplar seed had said 10 days to a full tree, so these couldn't be far behind in regrowing either. By now I had a rough map of the resource area in my head, a square roughly a kilometer on each side. It sounds small, but a square kilometer is 1,000,000 square meters, more land than I could ever strip if it fed only me. The one thing that left me both disappointed and relieved was the absence of any other survivor's treehouse nearby. Through the layered tree shadows, blue light flickered again, and I hurried over. The panel named it a high-level white poplar tree of blue grade, a higher tier of poplar that yielded high-level wood when felled. Then I looked at the ground beneath it and saw it glowing blue too, fertile soil. I lit up at once. It had been so long. Apart from the soil I'd used to plant my treehouse at the very start, this was only the second patch of blue fertile soil I'd ever seen, and with it I could grow blue-grade plants myself. I chopped down the high-level poplar first and pulled 5 pieces of blue wood, and the panel explained that a single piece of blue wood used in a wood tool sharply boosts its durability, and used in furniture raises the furniture's grade. So that was the secret. No wonder I'd only had recipes for white furniture and couldn't find anything higher. High-grade materials were the missing key the whole time. I glanced at my improved stone axe, down to half durability, and felt a pang over the blue stone I'd burned into it. I shook the thought off, took the shovel, and dug into the ground, pulling one piece of blue fertile soil, another piece of blue wood, and a single ordinary poplar seed. The seed out of the blue stump was still gradeless, which confirmed my theory all over again. I made several trips to carry the ingredients, wood and soil, home, found a patch of barren dirt by the treehouse, dug it out, and filled the hole with the fertile soil. Looking at that little plot, I nodded, satisfied, because it was the day's biggest win. With this soil I could keep churning out blue wood, or blue ingredients. The only question was what to plant first. I remembered the second high-level poplar from earlier, so I went and felled that one too and dug its stump, leaving me with 12 pieces of blue wood in hand. Then it hit me. If I planted an apple tree, harvested the apples, and chopped the tree, I might pull both blue ingredients and blue wood. I had no apple seeds yet, but the area was thick with green apple trees, so I could dig for some. I'd never seen a blue apple either, which meant a new flavor of effect waiting to be unwrapped. The idea only got better the longer I sat with it. I chopped an apple tree for 5 pieces of green wood, dug the stump, got no seed, and felled a second one, which gave me an apple tree seed that grows in 5 days and fruits in another 5. I'd pulled seeds from apples I'd eaten before, but with no system prompt they were ordinary stock, and I had no patience to nurse a wild tree on an unknown timeline. These dugout seeds, with the system's bonus, fruited in only 10 days. I pushed the apple seed into the blue fertile soil, and it broke the surface at a speed I could watch with my own eyes. The panel called it a blue apple tree seedling, said it needed 5 more days to become a tree, and warned that until then it was fragile and I shouldn't trample it. Done. Grow at your own pace. I carried the rest of the haul inside, wood on the first floor, ingredients on the third floor table, then tried to list the barren soil I dug on the trading platform, only to be told soil was a privately bound resource and couldn't be traded. A little regrettable. When I'd first pulled the blue soil, I'd had the bright idea of digging up green soil to sell, since it was everywhere underfoot, and now that door was shut too. Fine. Time to take stock of my blue supplies instead. The blue large red berry granted 2 hours of night vision, daytime clear, not a torch's pool of light. The blue high-quality mushroom permanently raised intelligence by a sliver and couldn't be eaten raw, so once I had a grill I'd roast my 20-odd first, since permanent boosts stacked best. The blue orange lifted the spirit with no aftermath. The blue stone block raised tool efficiency. The blue wood raised tool durability and furniture grade both. And the blue iron ore I'd seen on Lee Mun-hee's end smelted into blue iron blocks. Every ingredient buffed me. Every material upgraded what I built. No sense wasting time. I'd craft what the synthesis bench would let me first. I opened the screen and called Lee Mun-hee. She picked up in seconds, looking far cleaner than before, and I could even make out the fireplace behind her. Delighted, she asked whether I'd finished my work, and I asked back whether she'd built that fireplace. Surprised she'd built the furnace and the grill too, that she had so many materials it was annoying to look at them, so she'd burned a few. Having too many materials, what a problem to have. I asked whether she'd saved my share, and she huffed that I'd doubt her, swearing she had tons of stone and had used only a sliver, and could dig more if she ran short. And I really latched on to a little rich girl. I held a piece of blue wood up to the camera. She squinted, confused, asking what it was, and I remembered she couldn't read item grades before identifying them, so I sent her the description instead. Her eyes blew wide. She bounced forward hard enough to make her bed groan and blurted that this was a blue material for upgrading furniture. I confirmed it, told her I still had a heap of green wood while she was sitting on a mountain of stone, and pushed her to trade fast, since I needed to get crafting. She agreed in a rush. I swapped 200 green wood for 200 greenstone blocks, then built the basic furnace and set it on the second floor. While crafting, I even tried slipping in a blue stone block to boost the furnace's efficiency, but it refused, and on reflection that was fair. Expecting one blue stone to upgrade a furnace built from 100 ordinary ones was wishful thinking. The finished furnace stood taller than me, all industrial stone. A piece of white wood gave a burn time of 5 minutes, but green wood gave 2 hours and 35 minutes, 30 times the duration. I dumped 20 of my 60 green iron ore into the upper layer. The fire surged, heat rolled over me, the interior flushed red hot, and the panel set the iron block smelting time at 2 hours. I left the furnace to burn and went back up. The call was still open, Lee Mun-hee sitting dazed on her bed, and when she saw me she smiled and asked whether the furnace was done. I told her it was. She warned me her own furnace ate 5 iron ore per block and took half an hour each, calling its efficiency hopeless. 20 iron ore for 4 iron blocks then. Acceptable. I asked whether she'd gone out that afternoon. She had, a little, but not far, since there were few trees nearby and only stone, and she couldn't tell the high-grade ore apart, so she grabbed a few at random and come back empty of anything good. Then she shrugged, looked at me with open hope, and asked whether I was selling my blue wood, because her bed was terrible, slapping it so it creaked on cue. I'd shown her the blue wood, meaning to sell it all along. Keeping resources flowing was the only way to keep a little rich girl with a mine in her backyard interested, so I asked how many she wanted. Her eyes lit and she asked whether I had a lot. Not much, I lied. 3 at most. She agreed instantly, offering the same rate as before, 60 green resources for 3 blue wood. Based on the burn time, 1 green wood was worth 30 white, and green carried functions white didn't, so a single green wood was easily worth 40 or 50 white, which put 1 blue resource north of 20 green. Trading with Lee Mun-hee didn't bother me, since I'd already gotten bluestone from her at a 20-to-1 rate before, but once I listed things on the trading platform I'd need a real price. I wasn't short on green anyway, so I asked how much blue iron ore she had left, offering a clean 1-to-1 trade for ore, and some bluestone besides. She was decisive, firing off a trade at once, 3 blue iron ore and 2 blue stone for 5 blue wood, and once I accepted we traded a few more words and hung up. She was clearly dying to upgrade her furniture, and no wonder, sleeping on that bed. I didn't sit idle either. I tore down my broken bed and used 1 piece of blue wood to build a new one, and to my surprise the recipe that had once called for white wood now defaulted to 9 green plus 1 blue. 9 green wood, I selected yes. A bed far more advanced than the old one appeared, a blue wooden plank bed of high-grade wood, carrying its unique fragrance able to promote sleep and speed the recovery of stamina and spirit, though it might tempt me to oversleep from sheer comfort. Still a hard plank with no sheets, but the blue grade stunned me. The bench list still held only the original white wooden bed recipe at 10 white wood, so these were base recipes, and higher grade materials simply produced higher grade results. I'd started with 12 blue wood, traded away 5 and used 1, leaving 6 plenty. I had fertile soil churning out blue plants now too, so I stopped rationing myself. I built a blue backrest chair next, crafted from high-grade wood, contoured to the body, said to slowly recover stamina and spirit while raising crafting success rate. Then a blue dining table, also high-grade wood, said to make food taste better and amplify the effects of the food eaten near it. Both made me grin. The chair's boost to crafting success had no use yet, since none of my recipes could fail, but blueprint-locked items with failure chances were coming, and when they did, this blue chair would earn its keep. The dining table surprised me even more, so I pulled out a blue-red berry, the one good for night vision, since dusk was settling in and I wanted to spend the last safe hours doing something. I sat in the backrest chair at the dining table, ate a normal apple and 2 normal oranges for dinner, then the blue large red berry. My eyes brightened, and the dimming world outside snapped back into clear view. 3 hours, the night vision stretched from its usual 2, a full 50% gain. There was a faint fullness too. 1 apple and 2 oranges should have barely staved off hunger, yet I felt genuinely full, the table amplifying not just the special effects of blue food, but its plain energy. Half again as much out of every meal. This dining table was a treasure. After the red berry, I grabbed my tools and headed straight down to stop wasting time. The first thing I saw at the base was the apple tree, already sprung up into a small sapling. Fast. I wondered whether I should protect it, since once the protection period ended, some beast might come trample it. I thought it over, went back up for the simple fence in the crafting list, made a few, and ringed the sapling with them. Then I went back to gathering wood everywhere, chopping until my improved stone axe wore out and shattered. Next came the hauling, and it was a pain. For future convenience, I first cleared a small path around the treehouse. Because I'd wandered a good distance, chopping and dragging it all back was no small job. I could have left the wood where it lay and moved it once I had a backpack, but I worried scattered wood might vanish if I didn't collect it fast, the way it did in some games. Animals would show up tomorrow, so the backpack needed to climb the schedule. A rustle came from one stretch of jungle. After 2 days of nothing but wind in the leaves and the chirr of insects, the sound startled me and I whipped my head around. Under the red berry's night vision, the dark forest was crisp, and I caught a cluster of low bushes shaking, plainly not the wind. I stopped, set the wood down slowly, and kept one piece as a makeshift weapon. It wasn't the second day yet. Judging by how dark the sky had gone, even in summer it was 8 or 9 at night at most, far too early for land animals. Could another survivor have stumbled onto my spot? I held my ground and called out, asking who was there. The bushes froze the instant I spoke, which only wound me tighter because that meant something living was hiding in them. I tried again, telling whoever it was to come out that I could see them. The bushes shook again, and a small brown head popped free, white markings on its face, white ears twitching, leaves clinging to its fur. I stared at the cute little thing peeking at me with only its head out, completely thrown. A red panda? A raccoon? It wasn't afraid of me. It wriggled out, shook off the leaves, padded to my feet, hooked its claws into the leg of my shorts, and let out a thin whimpering cry. I'd been so on edge I nearly kicked it, but it wasn't aggressive and it was painfully cute, so I eased down and patted its head while it whimpered happily. Up close, I placed it. Red pandas run brown and adorable, while raccoons are black and white with that troublemaker look, and this one was clearly a red panda. I pulled a large red berry from my pocket and asked whether it wanted to eat. The second it saw the fruit, it whimpered high, but it didn't lunge, only stared up with pitiful, longing eyes. Where had this guy come from? And had protection ended early? It shouldn't have. This was the only animal I'd seen in 3 days, so I set the fruit near its mouth, and it caught it in both paws and crammed it in, eyes squeezed shut in pure comfort, then turned and vanished back into the jungle. That red panda had to be special. Even the black bear in the cave had been pinned by the world's rules until it disappeared, yet this one roamed free. It wasn't simple, but it was gone, so I quit speculating and finished hauling the wood. By then, the furnace had finished. The formed iron blocks sat stacked at the outlet, and when I tested them, they were already cool to the touch, a considerate little furnace. I pulled the iron blocks and loaded 4 green iron ore and 1 blue iron ore. 5 green ore made 1 green iron block, while 1 blue ore could push a block to blue quality, so a 4-to-1 mix would give me a blue iron block. Holding the green iron block I'd already made, I hesitated, in no rush for the grill, because I wanted to wait for the blue iron and build a high-grade blue grill instead. Experience said a blue high-grade grill would carry real benefits, and since I had the materials, why settle? While the ore smelted, I opened the area channel. The count still read 9,997, same as the day before, though I remembered 9,998 the first time I'd looked, and 10,000 at the start. 3 had died during the protection period alone. I wondered how, whether they'd tripped, hit a rock, and fallen to their deaths during the safest stretch of the whole game, and shook my head. The channel was lively. Someone counted down the few hours left in protection. Someone bragged about an apple tree near their treehouse. Someone gripped that their treehouse was too small to fit the wood they'd chopped, so they'd stacked it at the base. Then a more useful voice pointed out the identification station could be built outside the treehouse. No need to cram everything inside. And a panicked reply admitted their treehouse was already packed full. Another begged for food, offering green wood, and got mocked that this was a jungle, not a desert. The last lamented planting at the spawn point with nothing but poplar trees for company. I watched the area channel scroll. A man named Ji Cho-young was the most active voice in it, handing out practical survival guides and earning a name as a big shot across the whole channel. Someone fretted that the protection period was almost over and the treehouse couldn't craft weapons, asking whether you needed a synthesis bench for them. Someone else asked whether any big shots with a bench would sell weapons. Ji Cho-young answered that he'd built a synthesis bench, but it carried no weapon recipes, only advanced tool benches and daily necessities. I raised an eyebrow, so I wasn't the only lucky one able to assemble a synthesis bench that demanded 100 green materials. During the protection period, these 3 days were meant for novices to plant tree houses, and the surrounding resources were thin enough that gathering 100 green materials was punishing work. Even a cheater like me with discernment ability had to lean on a trade partner to pull together 2 kinds of green material. I'd combed my own bench blueprints too, and there were no weapons. The closest thing was the stone axe, which didn't even need the bench, and I had no idea how a stone axe would hold up against whatever was coming. My old axe had already shattered, so I used 1 blue stone and 1 blue wood with green materials to craft my second one. The panel named it a blue fine stone axe, able to fell trees of purple grade and below. Tougher and sharper for the higher grade components. Durability 1000. A blue axe with 1000 durability that could drop purple trees. This thing would last. Which raised a thought, would it chop down my own treehouse, since by its grade the treehouse was a purple tree? I resisted the urge to test it and went back to the channel. Under a siege of pleading replies, Chicho Yang had begun listing what his bench could make. Furnace, fireplace, torch, grill, and backpack. All craftable. The crowd swung instantly into demands, begging for help, insisting everyone had to unite, asking whether resources shouldn't be distributed equally. I stopped reading and gave a cold little laugh inside. In an environment like this, moral blackmail was guaranteed, and with the dangers still unknown, I had no intention of getting tangled in it. Ji Cho Young went quiet too, plainly done humoring them. Half an hour later, I pulled the freshly smelted blue iron blocks from the furnace and tossed the rest of my iron ore in. The panel called them iron blocks with the impurities cleared. Said one used in an iron tool would raise the tool's grade, exactly like blue wood and blue stone. A grill took 3 iron blocks, so I built it from 2 green and 1 blue. The grill I'd been turning over in my mind for hours. The panel named it a blue grill, a high-grade model that roasted food to perfection while slightly enhancing the ingredients' effects. I fed it white wood, laid the blue shiitake mushrooms, king oyster mushrooms, and wood ear mushrooms across it, and the air filled with their aroma as they roasted through fast. The flame snuffed itself out the instant the shiitake mushrooms were done, and that convenience made me grin, since my own barbecues back home had always come out half raw or smoking black. I crafted bowls and chopsticks from the cheapest white wood, because using blue even on tableware was too extravagant. With the blue grill's boost, the mushrooms surrendered their full flavor, and even with no salt or seasoning, I ate with real relish. My first hot meal after 2 days of nothing but fruit. The 20-odd mushrooms vanished, and I licked my lips wanting more. The shiitake were supposed to permanently nudge intelligence up a hair, boosted further by grill and dining table, but I felt nothing different. The increase may be surfacing elsewhere, or simply too small to register. I had no panel for intelligence, stamina, or strength, so I couldn't measure it, and it didn't matter as long as it tasted good. After the mushrooms, I decided to head back out, with 2 hours left until midnight, to gather reeds and lotus root from the lakeside before the lake turned dangerous once protection ended. I'd grab some fish to grill too if I could, since the mushrooms had left me hungry for more. The night vision still had time on it, so I crept down and tiptoed to the lakeside, where the water lay clear under the moon, fish not only visible but glowing faintly green so I could pinpoint them. Without fishing tools though, catching them was no small skill, and after a long fight I came back with lotus roots and a handful of reeds, and nothing finned. Catching fish was genuinely a technical art. Soaked through, I messaged Lee Mun-hee asking whether she had more greenstone to trade, and she answered yes instantly, so I swapped 100 green wood for 100 greenstone blocks. She requested a video call right after, but I caught sight of myself, drenched, hair plastered to my forehead, rejected her, and said to wait. Then, playing the rich man, I quickly crafted a fireplace and set it beside the big screen. The room reeked of barbecue smoke I hadn't noticed from inside, and the fireplace pulled in smoke and toxic gas on its own, plus I was dripping wet and needed to dry off. I tossed in a piece of white wood, and the panel gave 15 minutes of burn, 3 times the furnace's rate for the same wood. Heat spread through the treehouse, the comfortable air turning a touch muggy, and in 10 minutes my clothes were dry and the odor gone. I returned her call, my 4th with this little beauty today. Who knew she loved video calls this much? She picked up fast, and through the screen I could see every piece of furniture behind her swapped out for new, identical to mine. Before I could speak, she beat me to it, eyeing my background and asking whether I'd really made all this furniture, including the high-grade grill. I asked how she could tell, half wondering whether she had an ability of her own, and she said it just looked more advanced than hers, pointing at her own planar grill. I asked why she hadn't made the advanced one, and she said she'd forgotten, just thrown it together. Then she mentioned she'd gone out again that night and hauled back a pile of ore, enough stone for a while, but she was bored and wished the protection period would end, since all she could do was mine and she wasn't allowed to stray far. It had even warned her when she went too far. Warned her? I straightened and asked what it said. She told me a voice had said not to go too far from the treehouse or something bad would happen. No detail, just a stern tone. I asked roughly how far she'd gone, and she said she had no idea, only that the round trip took nearly 2 hours. About an hour each way, at a normal walking pace that was 4 or 5 kilometers, slower in forest, so maybe 3, and 3 was already far, so our range was tethered to the treehouse, and we couldn't stray. I'd walked a fair distance myself, but never passed about 2 kilometers, only because my ability showed nothing high-grade beyond that. I thought of the people who'd planted at the spawn point and felt a flicker of pity, since there was little around it and the leash made things even leaner. I remembered the black bear cave and warned her to be careful tomorrow, since she was mining at a mine entrance, and fierce beasts living in those caves would come home once protection ended. She said she thought of that, which was why she dug up another pile, and she raised the ore to the camera, blue light bleeding off it even through the screen. She crafted everything she could, filled a whole floor with stone, and figured even selling stone would carry her a while. That eased me. This little beauty was my only source of blue ore right now. I'd found a cave of my own, but with a black bear inside, and who knew when I could fight a black bear. We swapped a little more, already acting like partners, then hung up. I moved my chair to the bedside. The night jungle ran cooler than the day, the dense banyan leaves outside blocking the wind even where they didn't block my view, the canopy swaying and rustling. The natural wind dragged sleep over me, and my consciousness blurred. Then the world announced that all survivors had cleared the novice protection phase and earned their tree houses, that from now on it would no longer protect us, that we should strive to survive. Phase 1 had begun, unlocking weapon and armor crafting. On this dark and terrifying night, it said, the beasts suppressed for 3 full days were stirring, and only by surviving the beast tide could we earn a true new life. The voice snapped me awake, the mechanical words tightening around my chest. Beasts stirring. Survive the night. Of course, the cruelty arrived the instant protection lapsed. I looked out the window, and an owl with a wingspan near 2 meters swept past the edge of the canopy with a hoarse, piercing shriek that almost tore cry out of me, bigger than any owl on Earth. The jungle had stopped being quiet, bird calls and beast roars rising and falling as if starved giants caged for days had finally been loosed into an arena to vent their hunger. A wolf howl rolled in from far off and made me swallow. My treehouse was tall enough that even the lowest floor sat 10 meters up, the canopy hiding the window from outside, so my little house was completely concealed and basically safe. I breathed out and turned for the screen, and a splash like a waterfall erupted from the lake. Something had surfaced. I spun back, and the sight blew my eyes wide. A giant python's head reared from the center of the lake, the patterns on it like cracks in rock, its eyes dark as an abyss, its scales pale under the moon. The body alone was 2 meters across, and the head, only partly out of the water, ran 6 or 7 meters, the bulk of a dragon. The pressure of it drove the lakeside beasts fleeing into the trees, and its gaze drifted from the bank toward my treehouse, a scarlet forked tongue flicking out of its closed mouth as if sizing up a meal. My pupils shrank. I backed inside, ate a large red berry for night vision, and edged to the window again. The forest had gone past chaos into a brutal, bloody battlefield, the deadliest birds of prey wheeling overhead, wolf howls cutting through, and that giant in the lake at the center of it all. This night would not be the easy thing I'd imagined. I remembered the unlocked weapon and armor crafting from the prompt and rushed to the screen, opening basic material crafting to find new blueprints. There was a white wooden stick, a crude blunt weapon that could be a real companion in strong hands. Durability 200, 10 white wood. A white wooden hammer, light enough that even an ordinary person could swing it but weaker for it. Also 200 durability and 10 white wood. And a white boning knife that could rough disarced beast carcasses for the lowest grade materials. 5 white stone. These weapons were pathetic. I thought of the owls, wolves, and giant python outside, and the sticks and hammers felt like toys. I turned to the synthesis bench, found no weapon blueprints, but spotted a new workbench instead. A green weapon and armor manufacturing table needed to craft and repair advanced weapons and armor, with a warning never to test a weapon's sharpness on it, or it would snap the new weapon 50 green wood and 5 green iron blocks. I ran downstairs, pulled the refined iron blocks, and added them to the rest, 7 green and 2 blue. I tried slipping in blue wood and a blue iron block first, but the bench warned that advanced materials couldn't enhance the manufacturing table and asked whether to continue. Of course not. So advanced materials weren't omnipotent after all. I canceled, built the table from the plain materials, and set it beside the synthesis bench. It appeared with a loud bang, and I shot a guilty glance at the window, but the beasts hadn't been drawn by the noise, so I relaxed and started working it. The table's body was wood fitted with metal parts and tool components, giving it a hard metallic look, with a small illusory screen showing its blueprints. There was a green wooden bow, range only 30 meters, and low power but capable in a vital hit. Durability 200, 5 green wood and 1 animal tendon. A white wooden arrow, just a sharpened stick with no fletching to hurt accuracy. Recyclable 20 for 4 white wood. A green stone arrow with a stone head, wood shaft, and feathers. A standard precision arrow, recyclable 20 for 2 green stone, 2 white wood, 2 green feathers. And a green stone spear, the most powerful stone weapon against beasts. Its sharp head able to wound, durability 200, 5 green wood, and 2 green stone. I could smelt iron blocks already, but there were no iron weapons in the list. A pity. There were stone swords, knives, and daggers below, but I went straight for the stone spear. Knives demand strength and skill. Swords and daggers are toys against fierce beasts. But a spear, a true battlefield killer, lets even a novice exert real power. 1 inch longer, 1 inch stronger. Each has its place. Swords nimble against many small targets. Daggers best grappling close with something like a snake. But with materials scarce, the spear came first. I spent 1 blue wood and 1 blue stone and crafted a blue stone spear, durability 1000, its head able to pierce a beast's hide with ease. Good stuff. The manufacturing table could repair weapons, so as long as the spear's durability didn't hit 0, I could keep mending it. Gripping it, I felt steadier, and I glanced at armor. There was only leather armor, no wood, no iron, so I was stuck in the novice 2-piece set of shorts and a short-sleeved shirt. At least my body seemed to have adapted to the jungle now, no longer getting scraped raw on every branch and shrub, the way it had on the first day, when I'd had to dose myself with medicinal herb. Iron gear probably needed unlocking. Spear in hand, I opened the area channel, and it was already bedlam. People screaming about the things outside, a tiger clawing at one window, a too big bird, someone snapping that science wouldn't save anyone from this world, a man wailing that wolves had surrounded his treehouse. I messaged Lee Munhee asking how it was on her end, typing on the touch keyboard rather than risk voice. She replied fast, clearly watching the channel too, saying all kinds of beasts were out, and it was a little scary but should be fine. Her treehouse high enough that they couldn't climb or find her, and figured I was the same. She'd skipped voice for fear of being heard. I told her it was safe enough, but a big snake kept staring at my treehouse and something felt wrong, and offered to trade wood for iron ore. She said she didn't need wood right now and asked for red berries instead. So I traded 3 red berries for 60 green iron blocks. The repeat customer rate, 20-1. I checked the trading platform and as expected there were still no green materials for sale. Never mind blue, since most people couldn't even cover themselves. I tossed the traded iron blocks into the furnace, which threw heat but no noise, so the beasts outside wouldn't hear. I actually wanted to fire arrows out of the treehouse, since I'd thrown stones down before and the canopy hadn't blocked them going out, only coming in, which meant arrows would clear it too. But a bow needed animal tendon, and tendon came only off corpses below, which left me stuck. With one beast down there, I might gamble on a blue weapon, but with too many roaming and no telling where one might lunge from, I wasn't risking my life. Then a black bear and a few wolves started fighting below. I watched them tear at each other, weighing whether I could slip down and scavenge a carcass, when a prompt sounded. The system was unlocking creator authority for the survival world. Again? My breath caught and excitement flared. The last unlock had failed but still handed me discernment ability, putting me leagues ahead from the start, so I wondered what this one would bring. It failed on the first attempt, then again, the panel ticking up through a 7th failed try, then opening partial creator authority for me. Map authority. A map bloomed in my mind, some of it lit, most still black. The lit parts were everywhere I'd walked, an arc from the spawn point to the river, along the river, and a patch around the lake. With the Black Bear Cave, the lake, and my treehouse all clearly placed, the whole resource area glowing a hazy green, and across all of it, lit or dark, sat unevenly scattered red dots moving. Were these the beasts? I looked at 5 near my treehouse, 1 slightly larger ringed by 4 smaller, glanced outside, and sure enough, a black bear stood surrounded by 4 wolves. Toward the lake's center, 1 red dot blazed like a sun amid a dense swarm of small ones. The giant python. I looked up at it, and my pupils shrank. It was still flicking its tongue toward my treehouse, its pitch black eyes seeming to meet mine, cold moonlight flashing in them, and dread crawled up my spine. Had it really spotted me? If so, I had no chance at all. Before I could finish the thought, it began to move, its bulk hauling out of the water, trailing curtains like a waterfall, washing the bloodstains off the bank. With the red berry's vision, I could see countless fish flung into the air and falling back. Its abyssal crimson maw gaped toward me, tongue flicking big enough to swallow the whole treehouse in one bite. Just as I gritted my teeth, heart slamming, the giant python wheeled and plunged under, its body arching across the surface and rolling like a vast wheel, tail surfacing and sinking until it vanished entirely, leaving only ripples. On the mental map, the blazing red dot faded and died, while the smaller dots kept swimming the lake's center, so I couldn't see it once it dove. That wasn't right, the small dots were still there. Maybe the lake was deep and connected elsewhere, and the python had gone somewhere else through it. I'd thought the center looked very deep the first time I saw it, and that fit, since how else could a beast that size hide and survive in a lake no bigger than a reservoir? Whatever the reason, at least it wasn't watching my treehouse anymore, and my nerves loosened a notch. This ability was powerful, marking enemy position straight onto the map, practically X-ray vision. I found I could see red dots even in the black unexplored stretches, which meant I'd never have to fear an ambush while scouting new ground. I looked back at my treehouse and counted 1 fewer red dot nearby, and something clicked. I looked down. 1 wolf already lay dead under the bear's claws, the other 3 circling wounded and growling low. The black bear had won but paid for it. its body raked with bloody gouges, one eye clawed out, a true blind bear now. After a standoff of about 5 minutes, both sides seeming to grasp they'd only cripple each other for nothing, a wolf howled and the three slunk back, then turned and ran. I checked the map. With the fight done, no red dots remained near my treehouse, but that one bear, which had its back to me, savoring its hard-won dinner. I admitted I was tempted. This black bear was very likely the one from the Black Bear Cave. Bears are solitary, only mothers living with cubs until those cubs grow and split off, so a cave usually holds just one adult. If this was that bear, killing it here would erase a hidden danger. I gripped the spear and decided to chance it. The bear sat right under the canopy, which meant I could use the treehouse's trick and drop on it from above to stab it dead. No sooner thought than done. To keep my head sharp, I ate a blue orange, and the fatigue and lingering sleep swept away in an instant. I drew a deep breath, reached my free left hand toward the disc that served as the door, and tightened my grip on the spear. Passing through the wriggling door with the banyan's aerial roots wrapped around my waist, I aimed the spear tip down at the back of the feeding bear's head and counted off in silence. 3, 2, 1. I felt the roots loosen and dropped it near freefall, the weightlessness throwing me back to bungee jumps in my old world. Except I had no mood to enjoy it. Eyes locked on the bear, spear clenched. The bear back to me had no idea death was falling from the sky. The spear drove into the back of its head with a wet crunch, blood spraying, the bear collapsing on the spot without a chance to struggle. My first hunt, a success, and a black bear at that. The spear had punched clean through the bear's skull into the half-eaten wolf carcass in front of it, killing it instantly. Just before I hit the ground, I cinched the aerial roots tight around my waist, and apart from being squeezed to the edge of nausea, I came through unhurt. I gasped, a mix of reluctance and excitement in me. As a city kid, this was the first animal I'd killed with my own hands beyond insects, so the discomfort was natural, but the thrill of the whole sequence had my adrenaline roaring. Sorry, Black Bear. I really needed your materials. I wiped the blood off my face, worked the aerial roots to lift both the bear and the half-eaten wolf up to the first floor, since I didn't want bloody things on the third floor where I slept. The first floor was piled with wood but had room for 2 carcasses, hard as it was to fill 100 square meters. The bear was heavy, over 200 kilograms, no match for a polar or brown bear, but a fat one for its kind, though sizes here couldn't be judged by my old world. One look at the nearby gray wolf told the story, nearly 100 kilograms and one of the smaller of the 4, while the largest canine back home, the North American gray wolf, averaged only 70 for a male. The beasts here ran more dangerous, probably one reason the voice kept warning me never to abandon the small treehouse, since without its protection most people couldn't survive an environment this brutal. I went to the synthesis bench for a boning knife. The white recipe wanted 5 white stone, so I used 4 green and 1 blue and crafted a blue boning knife. Durability 1000, able to quickly break down carcasses with a chance at blue grade and below materials. Always use the best tools. A sharp blade makes light work. Holding the boning knife, I got to work. I'd never dissected an animal, but the knife was thoughtful. Instructions on where to cut surfacing in my mind the moment I held it. And with its effortless sharpness, I finished the bear and the wolf fast. The notification came late, listing 1 green complete bear hide, 1 white broken wolf hide, 200 kilograms of green bear meat, 80 of green wolf meat, 1 green bear paw and 1 blue bear paw, 2 green bear bones, and 2 green wolf bones. A blue bear paw lit my eyes up. The panel called it a high-grade ingredient, an astonishing delicacy cooked right, able to slightly and permanently raise the eater's strength. The strength ingredient I'd been waiting for. I'd always been insecure about my strength, and in a place like this I couldn't pour energy into physical training, so this was the perfect fix. The rest was mostly ordinary, hides, bones, and meat, though the knife had left no internal organs, the scraps vanishing on their own. I liked offal, heart and liver and kidney and intestine. Good in hot pot or stir-fried, but with no chili they'd taste too rank, so gone was gone. Strange there was no animal tendon though. Maybe the materials came on probability and I'd had bad luck. Frustrating, but the urgent task now was the backpack, since I had bear hide and wolf hide. The backpack needed 1 green beast hide and 3 white ropes, and ropes crafted at the synthesis bench from lakeside reeds, so with a complete bear hide in hand I was set. I twisted the reeds into rope and built the backpack, a green model with 10 slots, each holding a quantity set by the material type, reducing weight to 20% of the original. A small, compact thing that didn't hinder movement at all on my back. I tried 100 units of wood and it filled 1 slot at a fifth the weight, 50 kilograms feeling like 10. This was comfortable. With a backpack, I suddenly itched to explore again. Plenty of beasts had died in the melee outside, and salvaging a few corpses now would be a windfall. The bear's 200 kilograms feeling like 40 in the pack, well within my limits. On the map, the red dots had thinned out, the dead and fled and injured gone. The small sun in the lake not back. I studied the window. I'd only cleared the trees right under my canopy and left the surrounding ones so my banyan wouldn't stand out, so I could only peer down through gaps in the poplar leaves, which were thinner than my banyans. Here and there I caught fragmented beast corpses, most already gnawed, living beasts feasting beside each one. Of course, these starving things wouldn't pass up a feast, so salvaging now would only net broken carcasses like the wolf I brought up, dissecting them down to white broken hide and gnawed meat, with almost no shot at another bear paw. I had no appetite for gnawed meat. I couldn't even finish 200 kilograms of bear meat myself, with no way to preserve it, and could only list meat on a trading platform, though food wasn't scarce in a forest and nobody would swap critical resources for it without a famine. As for those who couldn't even feed themselves, I doubted they held anything I'd want. So if I went down now, only the bones would count as resources, and I could just wait for this wave to pass and collect them later, since the beast surely wouldn't gnaw bones too. Besides, the corpses lay beyond my treehouse root's reach, and my attack power was higher now, but I was too fragile without armor. No master spearman striking like a dragon, more likely to be swarmed and pinned. Forget it. If I'd gotten animal tendon and built a bow, I could have played it safe from range, but with my current gear, the small reward wasn't worth the risk. I looked at my materials again. Was this broken wolf hide useless? It was still a beast hide, white quality. Then it struck me. If higher grade materials made higher grade items, could lower grade materials make lower grade ones? The backpack wanted 1 green hide and 3 white ropes. What if I used the broken white hide instead? I approached the bench and tried it. A ball of light flashed, and to my surprise a backpack appeared. A white mended backpack with 5 slots, reducing weight to 50%. Resource recycling. I wouldn't use it, but I could sell it, having weight being good enough to effectively double carrying capacity. And at this stage, few people owned a bench that could kill beasts mid-swarm. Or I could trade it to manhwa for high-grade stone or iron ore. I checked the area channel, the countdown to 8,156, then dropping to 8,155 in the very second I watched. Once the protection period ended, reality turned cruel. Only a few hours, and nearly 2,000 people were already dead. Living 10 meters up in my tall, small treehouse, I was safe as long as I didn't court death. So apart from the giant python, I hadn't felt much danger, but the dwindling count weighed on me. The beast tied outside slowly pulled back, and the channel crept back to life, people celebrating that they'd survived, others stunned at how many had died on the very first day. One warning, there were still over 20 hours left in day 1, and this was just the beginning. Another snapping at him to shut up. Then came the thanks. Gratitude to Big Boss Ji Cho-young for the method that had saved them. The credit piling up. Ji Cho-young. There was that name again, and it pulled my interest. I scrolled up through the area channel and found the message Ji Cho-yang had posted earlier. Easy to spot since half the channel had repeated it. He'd told everyone not to panic, that from what he'd found, treehouses masked your scent, so as long as you made no noise the beasts wouldn't find you, and whatever you did, you should never scream. He'd warned against looking out the window out of curiosity, since the windows of low-level treehouses sat too close to the ground with too little cover, and a moving shadow at the glass would draw the eyes of fierce beasts and birds of prey. Best to hide somewhere out of sight from outside, he'd said. Treehouses masked scent, and he knew how. I stroked my chin. This Ji Cho-young really was a big shot, and I should find a chance to get to know him, since a man like that had to be sitting on a stack of high-level resources. To this day, I'd never seen anything above blue grade on the trading platform. Without an ability like mine, others could only guess and haul items home to learn their grade. Unless they got lucky like manhwa, whose resources happened to sit concentrated in one mine entrance. Born with a silver spoon, a girl who could pull blue materials out of a few ores. For everyone else, blue was basically unreachable. Even I'd had to travel 2 days from my start to find my first blue resource. The window was no issue for me, my canopy too dense to see through from outside. Low tree houses ran only about 3 meters, decorative in front of cats that could leap that easily, and the beasts here were strong enough that a discovered treehouse meant no escape. No wonder so many had died. I checked the count, stable now at 8,140. The tide receded, the scattered survivors of beasts no longer a threat to anyone who didn't go down and court death. Only a few hours past the protection period, and nearly 2,000 people had left this world for good. Then the world spoke. The beast riot had ended, it said, congratulating the survivors who'd lived through the initial beast tide riot night and become true treehouse explorers. The mortality rate for the event had been 32.76%, a portion of survivors gone forever, and it asked us to see off their souls and wish them a world without beasts. It warned us not to drop our guard, since the beasts had only pulled back and could riot again at any time, and told us to arm ourselves and survive the next one. As a reward, it announced, the jungle exploration activity would begin today at 9 in the morning, and told us to look forward to it. 32.76%. That high. Our own Jungle 188 area had lost under 20%. So other areas must have bled far worse. And what did jungle exploration even mean? Just a name with no rules until 9. If it was a reward, did that mean no danger? Somehow, I never believed this mysterious voice was that kind. The channel filled with relief, people crying that it was finally over, calling out to their mothers that they were still alive, praising the big shot for keeping the district's mortality so low. declaring Jungle 188 number 1. Others were collapsing from exhaustion, swearing they'd sleep now. Betting a reward activity meant good loot in the morning. Because I'd eaten a blue orange, even with the effect spent and the dining table's bonus folded in, it was as if I'd slept an hour and a half, so I was full of energy and barely sleepy. I glanced at the map again. The red dots around my treehouse were gone entirely, most now clustered to the northwest in a pitch-black stretch of unexplored land, plainly a beast gathering ground and very dangerous. Unless I had to, I'd never go that way. I sent Lee Mun-hee the stats on the white mended backpack and asked whether she wanted it. She didn't reply, but I wasn't worried about her, since hers wasn't the lowest treehouse, and like me, as long as she didn't court death, nothing would go wrong. Seeing no answer, I ate another orange and a large red berry and got ready to go scavenge. Others wouldn't dare go out now, fearing leftover beasts. But with the map I wasn't afraid, since I knew nothing was near me. The banyan roots carried me down, and the first thing I saw was the blue apple tree by my treehouse, grown in a single day into a sapling 2 fingers thick. The fence around it had done its job and reached the end of it, tilted and broken from impacts, but the apple tree itself was untouched. The ground was a mess of bloodstains and fur from the beasts fighting. Even feathers from the birds of prey, faintly glowing green. I picked one up, and the panel called it a green owl feather, dropped in a struggle, blood still faint on it. A raw material for stone arrows, so I dropped it in my backpack. A bow still needed animal tendon, which I hadn't gotten off the bear or the wolf. Couldn't it be pulled from those two, only from specific animals? Or was it just probability and bad luck? Or had I severed the tendons by accident with my own clumsy cuts? Without any long-range option, I always felt like something was missing. To my surprise, there were no beast corpses in the woods, not even leftover bones, only the wrecked bushes and bloodstains proving a battle had happened. Of course, the world wouldn't leave survivors a free corpse gift pack to exploit. After walking a long while, I came away with only 4 shed owl feathers. Then a rustle came from the nearby bushes again. I tensed and pointed the spear toward it, the map surfacing in my mind, but to my surprise, there were no red dots around me. Something wrong with the map? I went instantly nervous, because if it couldn't mark every beast, its protection was badly weakened, and some fierce beasts, especially the big cats at the top of the chain, hunted on sudden burst of speed. Just as I locked in fully on guard, a small brown head popped out of the bushes, white ears twitching. This felt familiar. It was the red panda from before. I relaxed and greeted it. Of course the map hadn't caught it, since it was special from the start, able to move even before protection ended, and it bore me no ill will, so there was no need for caution. I couldn't rule out aggressive beasts with the same trick, but if I ever met one with cheats like that, I could only blame my luck. The red panda crawled out of the wrecked bushes and did the same thing as last time, grabbing the leg of my shorts and whimpering, its fluffy tail sweeping leaves behind it. I understood, pulled a large red berry from my backpack, and asked whether it wanted to eat. It nodded, whimpering. "You can understand me?" I was startled. It tilted its head and made a soft questioning sound, so I told it that in that case I wouldn't give it any. It panicked at once, clamping onto my leg and refusing to let go, its little eyes pure pleading, that big brown and white tail swishing. It really could understand me. I handed over the berry, and it took it in both paws, licked it twice, crammed it in, and let out a satisfied cry. So this high-grade fruit didn't just have special functions for survivors, the beasts loved it too. There was another large red berry bush across the lake, spotted 2 days back but left unpicked for fear it would spoil. Though this little guy clearly didn't know that, since it had come begging 2 days straight. 2 days of watching had taught me blue fruits didn't rot like ordinary ones. The one I'd picked still cool and unchanged even at noon in 35-degree heat. I'd go harvest that other bush in a while. After eating, the red panda stood upright like a person and licked its paws. And just as it turned to bolt like the day before, I snatched it by the scruff and lifted it to eye level. It didn't hurt and it didn't struggle, only tilted its head as if wondering why this 2-legged beast was holding it up, probably won over by 2 feedings. I asked how it felt about following me from now on. One of those berries every day, and seeing no resistance, I stopped holding the scruff and cradled it in my arms, stroking the soft black fur on its belly. This was no ordinary red panda. Every land creature, rabbit to black bear, except some fish and shrimp and harmless insects treated as scenery, had been locked in a dark room by the world. Yet this one roamed free. It seemed highly intelligent, understood my words, and couldn't be caught by my creator authority. It was strange enough that it might tie into the secrets of this world, maybe even into whether I could ever get home. It snuggled into my arms, finding the embrace comfortable, with no intention of leaving, then stuck out a small paw and gestured to 2. Was it haggling with me? I looked at it like I'd found something fascinating, and when its tail kept brushing and tickling my arm, I grabbed the mischievous thing and told it room and board were included. 1 red berry a day, and if it helped me out, I had other fruits of the same grade. Its ears perked at that, and it licked its lips with a pink tongue, broke free of my arms, climbed onto one shoulder and draped its big tail over the other. It had agreed for now, so I smiled and stroked its head, and it rubbed my palm, then lay on my shoulder and closed its eyes to rest. A solid haul for one trip, a red panda that seemed to ignore the world's rules. Even setting that aside, a cute pet was a huge win, And who could refuse one that understood human speech in a place where you couldn't see another soul from dawn to dark? I decided to go harvest that red berry bush I'd seen. One bush bore at least 30 berries, a month of rations for this little guy, though I didn't know whether it would revolt watching me strip so many in front of it. I remembered the spot exactly and got there fast, but to my surprise the red panda on my shoulder had no interest in the berries on the bush, opening its eyes a moment, then closing them again. I asked why it had no reaction to its favorite blue-red berry, and it looked at me confused, then at the bush, scratched its head with a paw in that human way, jumped down, picked one, stuffed it in its mouth, and shook its head with a complaining cry. I was lost and scratched my own head. Were these berries somehow not the same? I figured I'd pick them anyway, since if it wouldn't eat them, I would. The instant I picked the first one, the red panda's eyes flew open and it cried out, staring at the berry in my hand. Didn't it just refuse? To test a hunch, I held the picked berry to its mouth, and it ate it in one bite, squinting happily, then refused the fruit still on the branch when I asked, but nodded the moment I picked another. I dropped that one in my backpack and reminded it we'd agreed on one a day, and it had already had two. It clawed at the backpack, couldn't open it, then licked my cheek to soften me, but I didn't budge, because that much would eat me into poverty. A theory was forming. I'd wondered from the start why high-grade plants looked no different from low-grade ones. Maybe to this world's original inhabitants these plants were nothing special, simply granted new attributes by this so-called survival game. Attributes that only manifested once a survivor brought here by the mysterious force cutter harvested the plant. Otherwise it stayed an ordinary red berry. The mechanism might be about balance, since blue resources were so scarce that if they were this irresistible to beasts, the birds alone would devour every fruit and leave nothing for us. Thinking it through, I felt the truth of this world ran far less simple and brutal than I'd imagined. The voice in my mind might be an outsider here too, and maybe all of us, this world included, were just lab rats in a testing ground. I shook off the thought. This wasn't something for my stage to chew on, since survival came first. While I gathered, the little guy on my shoulder watched me with a resentful stare, as if to say I had so many, and gave it only one a day. The stingy man. The bush yielded another 32 berries, and since it had already eaten 2, I kept exactly 30, all into one backpack slot. After that I decided to head back. 4 or 5 in the morning by now, the edge of the sky already glowing with the rising sun. Dawn close. The morning activity wouldn't start until 9, and though my mind felt fine after the orange, I could feel the exhaustion deep in my body. Time to rest. I reached the base of the treehouse, and under the little guy's amazed gaze, climbed up with the root around my waist. Inside, it jumped off my shoulder and tore around exploring everything, chirping, full of curiosity, since it usually slept in a tree hollow and had never seen one this big. I warned it not to touch anything while I swept all the blue food in the room into my backpack, just in case it stole some behind my back. Busy all night, I was starving. I rubbed my flat stomach, thought of the bear meat and that blue bear paw, and could have drooled. 3 days, and I hadn't eaten a single bite of meat, the vegetarian run making me feel like I was losing myself. I cut 2 kilograms of meat off the bear, took the blue bear paw, and set the grill up in front of the fireplace. Stewing is the right way to do bear paw, slow and long, but roasted has its own flavor, and as a lifelong foodie I dreamed of trying bear paw for years, except bears were protected back home and that whole culinary tradition had quietly died out. I'd even half planned to travel abroad someday to taste it legally. Funny that I'd finally get the chance here of all places. I had no pot. The crafting list held no iron pot or stove, and the materials should have covered both, yet they wouldn't craft, so the better kitchenware probably needed unlocking. I cut the meat and paw with the boning knife and laid both on the grill. A pity about the seasonings, so plain it was, but I had to find salt over the next few days, since food suffered without it and the body broke down long term, and I couldn't drink blood and eat raw meat like a beast. The tired little guy came back to the 3rd floor and curled up on my lap. No interest in the roasting bear meat, so I stuffed an apple into its arms and it hugged it and started gnawing. I muttered that I needed to give it a name, and it raised its head, tilting it at me. I tried furball, and it shook its head and bit the apple hard, dissatisfied. I tried coffee, chocolate, keke, off its brown fur, and it just tilted its head, not knowing the words. Since it didn't object, I decided on the spot. Keke it was. It gave a put-out cry at my tyranny, but didn't refuse the name. Just kept gnawing, which counted as acceptance. Soon the oil bubbled on the bear meat, the sizzle making my mouth water. The meal was delicious. No seasoning and a strange wild taste, but I ate with real relish, and the blue bear paw above all, the meat firm and fatty and rich with gelatin thanks to its grade, a rare delicacy that left my mouth slick with grease, and me enjoying every bite. Afterwards, I smiled at my greasy hands and went down to the lakeside to wash, the map showing the lake's red dots all packed in the deep center, so I cleaned up without trouble. To save the trip in future, I crafted a large wooden basin, filled it, and hauled it back. I lay on the bed, Unlike the mushrooms, I could clearly feel the strength the bear paw had given me, a warm current that had flowed from my belly outward while I ate. Carrying the full basin just now, heavy as it should have been, it hadn't felt heavy at all, and I deliberately kept it out of the backpack and still hadn't been winded. With the dining table and grill amplifying it, the bear paw's gains had maxed out. Strength up, and with the backpack's reduction I could carry even more. I was very satisfied with the bear paw. Lying there, I drifted off. Birdsong woke me. The screen read 8:30. KK still curled on my bed, tail wrapped around itself, not yet awake. I washed up and came to the screen, the channel already bustling. People counting down the 20 minutes, excited at the name, others warning not to get happy too early after last night's nightmare. Someone proposing teams. Lee Moon-hee had replied too, asking how I had a backpack when she'd walked a long time after the tide and found no corpses, whether I'd killed the beasts, and why the pack was white when the list said green. Sent at 7, so she'd stayed up late yet risen early. And guessing I wasn't up, this caller and video lover had left just the one line. She was bold. I'd only dared go down because the map showed me where the beasts were, and without it I wouldn't have risked it right after the tide. I told her I'd gotten lucky and killed one that was feeding, made the backpack from the broken skin of the animal being eaten, and asked whether she wanted to trade for some bluestone and iron ore. She fired off a video call almost instantly. Why did she love these so much? Luckily I'd already washed up, so I answered. She marveled that I'd really killed a beast, that it was incredible, that I'd dared go out in that situation. There was that vibrant voice again, and on the screen she wore the novice two-piece set, her figure and long, fair legs on full display, making my eyebrows twitch. So unguarded this early, a full-body shot right off the bat. The novice set actually looked pretty good. I said I'd just gotten lucky, that the two beasts hurt each other and I reaped the benefits, and asked again whether she wanted the backpack for some blue supplies. She put her hands on her hips, dissatisfied, asking whether I really meant to trade a white backpack for her blue supplies, pointing out the protection period was over, the beasts were out, and there were ways to get beast hide now. So was that price fair? She was clearly interested but balked at the cost. I told her not to forget today's jungle exploration activity, which would surely turn up resources the last 3 days hadn't, and asked whether she really wanted to carry it all by hand like before. I knew the backpack's real value wasn't just weight, it was freeing your hands to stuff large items into a small pack. She knit her brows, still feeling it was too expensive. She had plenty of bluestone and ore, but she'd gone down to check her mine tunnel and heard an animal snoring not far in. So until she could drive off or kill the beast in there, her blue resources were finite. Everyone spent one less. She protested that I was taking advantage of the situation, that there'd be loads of these white backpacks once today ended, since if everyone couldn't beat lions and tigers, they could at least beat rabbits. I offered a sweeter deal, 2 blue stone, 2 blue iron ore, the backpack hers, plus a red berry and 2 kilograms of bear meat. She gasped that I'd actually killed a bear. After last night's tide, there were always strong people who got things, and even without a bench, they could make sticks and hammers, the lowest blunt weapons which in strong hands might not lag far behind my stone spear. The trading platform was no longer the desert it had been, some people already listing meat, so I listed the gnawed wolf meat too for green or blue resources. Still no backpacks or beast hides for sale, since anyone with a bench would build a pack for themselves first, and those without wouldn't sell materials they'd just seen for the first time. Jicho Yang did post a shout that he had a synthesis bench and would craft a backpack for anyone with beast hide but no bench, if they messaged him privately. Whether anyone believed him was another matter, since custom crafting meant handing over your raw materials first, and without reputation no one would. Seeing the gifts, Lee Moon-hee was tempted. She'd felt the red berry's effect last night, basically turning night into day, no torch to attract beasts, and 2 of each was nothing to her. I stoked it, asking how much she thought a backpack would fetch if I listed it on the platform. She made up her mind and sent the trade request. 2 blue stone and 2 blue iron ore for 1 white patched backpack, 1 blue large red berry, and 5 kilograms of green bear meat. Hey, 2 kilograms of bear meat, why 5? I looked at her, speechless. Her face went red, she turned away and started whistling. I shook my head and clicked agree, since I was indeed taking advantage of the situation a little. And though I could list the backpack, others weren't as rich as this little mine-owning girl, so it'd be a price with no buyers. Letting her grab a little extra didn't matter, with all the bear meat I had. She looked at the patched, ugly backpack in her hands with a bit of disdain, sniffed, and threatened that if she found no good resources today, she'd curse me to death tonight. I laughed, and just as I went to answer, she suddenly shrieked, eyes flying wide, nearly pressing herself into the screen, asking what that adorable thing was. I looked down. Keke had climbed onto my lap, rubbing its eyes with its paws, not fully awake, and Lee Mun-hee's scream had startled it into a whimper and a blank stare at the screen. She stammered that I'd actually kept a red panda, dizzy with envy, my huge treehouse only impressing her for a moment, but this driving her wild. I corrected her that it was a red panda, lifted Keke, grabbed its little arm, waved it, and told it to say goodbye to the big sister, getting ready to hang up. She started to protest, but the call cut off. It was almost 9, and I didn't want to explain a pile of things to her again. On her end, Lee Moon-hae blinked at the exited video, then a surge of anger rose, since no one had ever hung up on her like that. And that little thing was just too cute. She was about to call back, when the voice rang out. The voice welcomed all survivors to the first reward activity, the jungle exploration activity, and asked us to listen carefully as it laid out the content. Within a 3-kilometer radius of each person's treehouse, it said, sat 3 hidden treasure chests, bronze, silver, and gold, each holding limited resources obtainable nowhere else. The bronze chest opened directly, the key to the silver chest waited inside the bronze, and the key to the gold waited inside the silver. Every survivor's goal was to find all 3, claim the resources, upgrade their treehouse and themselves, and raise their survival odds for the next danger. As a friendly reminder, it warned us not to explore beyond 3 kilometers, or terrifying things would happen. The activity ran from 9 today to 6 the next evening, and in each area, the 50 survivors with the lowest total value of resources gathered during the activity would leave this world forever. It asked whether everyone was ready, then declared the jungle exploration activity begun. I listened to the mysterious voice harder than I'd ever focused on a ranked match. When your own life is on the table, who wouldn't? Hearing that the bottom 50 would be cut, the corner of my eye twitched. A cruel bottom-tier elimination. Exactly the cruelty I'd expected from this voice. 50 people in each area dead even for a reward event. Never mind however many would meet danger out exploring. 50 wasn't many against the 8,000 plus left in our area, only about 0.5%, but this was the first event after the protection period, and who knew how many more so-called events waited ahead. I began breaking down the rules. Because of where the keys sat, the 3 chests had to be opened in order, bronze then silver then gold. Could they be moved? If so, dropping the first one I found into my backpack would make this easier. Would beasts guard them, the worst case being guardians I couldn't match? Were there obvious markers near them? I felt there should be. A 3-kilometer radius was no small thing, roughly a small city's downtown. And in 2 days, even with night vision and no sleep, combing it alone on foot was impossible. Pure luck would be far too dull. While I was thinking, Lee Moon-hae sent another video call, and I picked up. Her expression had gone serious. She said she wanted to trade for greenwood since she didn't have much left and many tools weren't made yet. I was short on greenstone myself, so I agreed, and we finished fast. Then she smiled and said that if she survived this, I'd have to let her get a good look at my red panda. I patted KK's head. I figured I should help this little rich lady I'd met only 2 days ago, since until I found iron ore she was my mineral source. And on top of that, she was comfortable to deal with. I set 2 oranges on the trading platform for her and told her to watch the situation tonight, to stay in if it was dangerous, and use these if it wasn't. Blue fruit was far less precious than blue ore and wood. 1 tree gave hundreds, the effect lasting a few hours at most. No match for materials that directly upgraded tools, roughly a potion against equipment of the same tier. Giving her 2 oranges was an investment. She started to refuse, then froze when she saw the orange's effect, closed the mouth she'd opened to decline, and obediently agreed to the trade. She said she'd pay me back after she finished the event, knowing she'd gotten a steal, since the orange paired perfectly with the red berry, basically letting her treat night as day. If she made better use of the dark hours, her odds of landing in the bottom 50 dropped sharply. I told her something else I'd worked out. She could gather resources before hunting chests, since the voice had said the bottom 50 by resource value, not chest resources, or specific ones, so even 1 blue resource would probably keep her out of the bottom, because almost nobody else could get blue materials. Her eyes widened as it sank in, and she asked whether the voice had really said that, since she hadn't caught it clearly. That was what it said, I told her, but it was only speculation and a backup, since maybe the bronze chest was easy to find, and held resources worth more than blue. So finding the chest was still the priority. Of course that chance was tiny. Some people didn't even have green materials yet, so if a bronze chest beat blue, the gold and silver would be untouchable. So what I told her was also my own plan. The orange tree still had 70 or 80 oranges unpicked, and stripping them all would make my elimination basically impossible. She nodded, looking like she'd found a powerhouse to lean on, and said she'd do as I said. I told her to come back around 7 that evening if she could, to exchange information, and she agreed with a laugh, telling me not to forget. After hanging up, I checked the area channel, and the whole thing had clearly fallen into chaos. People panicking that the bottom 50 would die, demanding to know why a reward event killed anyone. Others scrambling to go find chests, one begging to trade a chest for everything he owned. Another claiming his father was someone important, and pleading for help with promises of future reward. A crowd of men and women, none over 30, had completely lost their heads, the channel full of meaningless garbage with no useful clue in it. No one mentioned the method I'd figured out. Ji Cheo-young, the big shot who usually helped, didn't show his face this time, and no wonder, since making it public would gut its value. Someone always lands in the last 50, and no one wants it to be them, and the moment those 50 are cut, what rises in the other weaklings might not be sympathy but relief. Glad it wasn't me. That was the cruelty of bottom tier elimination for the week. I gathered my tools, the stone axe, stone pickaxe, and stone spear, shouldered the backpack, and set off. First, the thing I'd told her, go pick those oranges, since useful or not, it would buy me peace of mind. Having picked one, I tossed an orange up to Keke on my shoulder, and it peeled the skin like a person and ate it with relish, that intoxicated little look on its face. After the oranges, I opened the map to see where the nearby red dots were, since if beasts guarded the chests, the dots would sit very close to them. To my disappointment, apart from the many swimming in the lake's center, there wasn't a single red dot inside my resource area, most still clustered to the northwest. That was a region of hills, undulating ones I could see from my treehouse, but far away, certainly more than 3 kilometers, so the chests wouldn't be there. So, where on earth could they be? I pondered it. Whatever, time to move, and maybe my discernment ability would just show them to me. I wasn't in much of a hurry now. The orange tree sat about a kilometer from the treehouse, so I planned to check the outer edge of the 3-kilometer radius first. The whole resource area was only a small circle, 2 kilometers across, a kilometer in radius, and my treehouse perched at its very edge, which meant my exploration range completely swallowed the resource area with a large stretch of ordinary land left over. Let's go check the places I haven't been yet. Because I have the map, I never lose my way in this jungle, never circle back on myself the way most people do out here. I do not bother leaving markers. I just walk in one straight line, holding the direction in my head, until the mysterious voice surfaces again to warn me. It tells me not to stray more than 3 kilometers from the small treehouse, or things I do not want to see will happen to me. I stop. This must be the very edge of the 3-kilometer radius, and a quick look around tells me I've already walked clear of my resource area, because almost everything glowing in my vision is plain white now, with only a few scattered specks of green light left. I checked the green ones anyway. They are all ordinary green-grade resources, the same stuff I already have piles of back home. Then Keiki, my little red panda riding my shoulder, cries out and leaps straight to the ground. I ask what she has found, and she answers by tugging on my pant leg and pulling me along. My treehouse sits at the dead center of the whole circular territory, and right now I am parked at the eastern edge of that circle, so when she leads me toward the southwest, I know she is taking me somewhere I have never set foot. Joy rises in my chest. This little fellow is my lucky star, no question about it. The stream flows from west to east. I followed it eastward once, all the way to the western side of my resource area where I planted the treehouse, then walked back east across the whole stretch to get to where I am now. Keke is steering me toward the south side instead, a place I have never visited, where the map reads pure black, no red dots in that darkness at least, which is the only thing keeping me calm. Following her, I start to notice something off. The land looks like every other patch of poplar forest I have crossed, summer grass and shrubs blanketing the ground, but the grass and shrubs here feel subtly different from anything I have seen before. I cannot put my finger on it, which drops me into a kind of brooding silence. Keki keeps glancing back, worried I have fallen behind and gotten lost, and when she sees me slow down to think, she trots back and tugs my leg again. I ask her why this direction, and she only tilts her head at me. Asking is pointless. She is running on pure instinct. I shake my head and go back to studying the shrubs and weeds, tilting my head left, then right, and all at once it clicks. I know what is bothering me. The weeds and shrubs everywhere else in this world grow the way nature intends, wild and disorderly, like an untended field choked with overgrowth. But the ones here are all leaning ever so slightly in a single direction. The lean is faint, almost nothing, yet I can still tell order from chaos. And there is order here. There is no wind in the jungle right now, so the wind did not do this. And if wind had bent them, they would be swaying, not frozen mid-lean. I look up at the surrounding poplars and find the same thing. The trunks and branches have no sense of direction, but every single leaf tilts slightly toward one spot, the exact same spot the grass points to. Something in that direction is pulling all of it toward itself. A treasure chest. Who in their right mind says no to a treasure chest? I pull a large red berry from my backpack and hand it to Kike, telling her it is her reward, that I could never have spotted the pattern this fast without her. She cries out, rears up on her hind legs, and grabs my pant leg again, and once she has wolfed the berry down, her steps go light and bouncy, hopping back and forth ahead of me. I feel my whole body unclench a little just watching her. The further I walk, the stronger the tilt grows, until the weeds and shrubs are no longer leaning toward a general direction, but converging on a single point. I am getting close, yet there is no red dot on my map, and no high-level color anywhere in my sight. Just broad sheets of white with the odd fleck of green. Keke slows too, hesitating about whether to keep going, like she senses danger up ahead. I call her back and stop letting her lead. I have no idea what is waiting, and I will not risk my treasure of a red panda for it. She hops onto my shoulder and settles, obedient, her big tail looped around my neck and draped over my far shoulder, her eyes locked dead ahead. The direction the plants point grows clearer and clearer, and my heart climbs with it. I am moving fast when a sense of danger flares in me out of nowhere, twitching the muscles around my eyes. In my mind, a red dot is slowly brightening on the map, right where I am standing. I shove off a nearby tree with both hands, wrench myself sideways, and dive. The instant I clear the spot, the ground beneath my feet and the ground straight along my old path splits open, and a forest of sharp vines erupts upward. Each one is as thick as my arm, dark green and threaded with faint red lines that make them look obscene. Keke, knocked off by my sudden move, hits the dirt and starts to gripe, then sees the vines tearing out of the earth and freezes wide-eyed. The vines twist together in the air, braiding into one giant drill, and the whole mass pivots and lunges at me. I curse and roll again, scraping past the second strike by a hair. The braided drill slams into the ground right beside me, blasting loose pebbles into my arms and cheeks hard enough to sting. Then, as if it has spent everything it had, the vine stops dead and goes still. My heart is still hammering. It is my 4th day in this world, and I have just had my first taste of brushing past the Grim Reaper. It is exactly as unpleasant as it sounds. I spring up, snatch Keke off the ground where she sits dazed, and haul both of us 10 meters back behind a tree. I pull my stone spear out of the backpack and watch the vine, now frozen in a tangled bend, while keeping my attention nailed to the map in case there is more than one of these things waiting under the soil. I wait a full 10 minutes. The tangled mass does not so much as twitch, and Keke gives a weak little cry in my arms. I swallow hard and grip the spear. I had put it away because there were no red dots around and the thing was too long and awkward to carry. Lesson learned. I edge closer, eyes on the map, and prod the vine with the spear tip. To my surprise, the vine, tough and powerful a minute ago, has gone brittle as if it were air-dried. One thrust punches clean through it, and cracks spread out from the hole until a whole section crumbles off and drops to the ground. I cannot make sense of how a thing that just tried to drill me into paste has turned into an onion ring. Then I notice where it came up, the root, and because so much of it surfaced, it dragged up a swollen, tuberous chunk that looks like a sweet potato. I poke the tuber, the surface shatters, and a flash of bronze catches my eye. Of course, the chest's location is this sinister. I swear under my breath and go to work jabbing the brittle vine until it stops reacting, then hacking the whole thing into fragments until the complete bronze treasure chest lies bare in front of me. There is no keyhole, exactly as the voice told me before, so it should open straight away. But I have learned caution the hard way today, and my nerves are wound tight enough that I half expect something to jump out and bite me the second I lift the lid. There are no red dots near me now, and yet I am uneasy. Before the vine struck, there were none either. The dot only crept in as the thing was about to burst free, which means it burrowed up from deep underground, just like the giant python in the lake whose red dot faded out the same way after it dove under. What else is buried down there, and why do all these creatures that defy common sense crawl up out of the earth? Suddenly, even standing on solid ground feels unsafe, and I want to be back in my treehouse, 10 meters up, the 3rd floor 16 or 17 meters off the ground, high enough for a sliver of security. On my first day, the voice told us to never abandon the treehouse, that it is our only reliance, and now that I have felt the danger rising from below, I am starting to understand why. Enough thinking. The chest matters more. Spooked as a bird that flinches at a plucked bowstring, I circle around behind the chest, figuring that if something leaps out, I will at least have a moment to react. I am overthinking it. Nothing leaps out. I finally look inside. At the very top sits a bag of something that looks like fertilizer. I touch it, and my item identification reads it out. Natural organic fertilizer. Green grade. A fertilizer that turns barren white land into ordinary green land, and sprinkled on green soil, speeds up plant growth. 50 portions remaining. Fertilizer that changes the fertility of the land itself. Every survivor who planted a treehouse on garbage soil is saved by this, since soil cannot be traded and this is probably their only way to fix it. The growth acceleration part does not interest me much, so I drop the bag into my backpack, and the items underneath surface. 2 bags of seeds. The item identification tells me the first is a birch tree seed, 10 days to harvest. Felling it yields fine wood, and the second is a pine tree seed, also 10 days. Felling it yields round wood. New tree species, new kinds of wood, new resources. I am glad I found this chest. The voice warned the items inside are limited, and if I miss them I lose the ability to obtain these resources, or am stuck buying them off other people. Paired with the fertilizer, I can grow fresh materials fast. Considerate of the chest, really, to stock things that all work together. Keiki flops over the edge of the chest, pointing her stubby little paws inside. Beneath the 2 seed bags lie a silver compass and a silver key. The key has to be for the silver treasure chest, but I have no idea what the compass does until I pick it up and read it. A silver treasure chest compass. Green grade, rotate the needle to find the rough direction of a silver treasure chest. Usable once every 2 hours. Good stuff. I almost spin it on the spot, then catch myself, since it only points a general direction, and it would be far smarter to use it from the treehouse at the dead center of my territory where it narrows the range as far as possible. I tell KK we are heading home. By the time we get back, the sun hangs high overhead. I left a little after 9 in the morning, and it is 1 in the afternoon now. The first chest found in only 4 hours, which I am pretty satisfied with. I hauled the empty bronze chest back too, since bronze is bronze, and someday I might be able to break it down into materials. Sitting in my chair, I set the silver compass on the table and flick the needle. It is heavier than I expect, and instead of slowing down gently, it spins faster and faster, then gives a crisp little chime and finally begins to wind down. At last it settles, pointing west of the treehouse. That is the exact direction I just came from. West is the stream. The needle points back the way the stream flows from, which means the silver chest is likely sitting somewhere along the path I took when I first arrived. I wonder if it is in the Black Bear Cave. I study the compass and think it over, because when I came in from my spawn point I looked the surroundings over carefully, and apart from that one Black Bear Cave along the way, nothing seemed special. Then again, you cannot reason about a chest's location like a normal person. Who could have guessed the bronze one would be buried inside the root of a vine? That spot was treacherous enough that without my ability I might have walked straight into the trap, and even if it had not killed me, it would have left me hurt. So the silver chest will not be in an ordinary place either, and I have to watch every step. I decide to check the Black Bear Cave first, and wonder, idly, whether there is still a bear in it. The skin of the black bear I killed is now the backpack on my back. I open the map and look, and there is no red dot in the cave right now. Maybe my bear really was the one that lived there, which would suit me fine, because last time I only managed to stab a wounded defenseless bear to death, with the treehouse helping me. Face one head on with a cold weapon and I am nothing but bear dung. If it is still alive, I will have to outthink it. Keiki lies on the table batting the compass needle with her paws, but it has gone into cooldown and will not work for 2 hours, so it just turns listlessly under her taps like a clock with a stripped gear. I open the regional channel. The head count has already dropped under 8,000. Only 7,987 people left, and I remember it reading 8,140 when I glanced at it this morning. So 150 people died this quickly. It rattles me. Most of them were probably killed by the monsters guarding their chests, and some may have drawn not a bronze chest but a gold or silver one, with guardians far nastier than my vine. The so-called elimination of the bottom rank was just a trick to pry survivors out of their treehouses. The real danger is the monsters on the chests. I get more careful. I have no intention of dying to an ambush. Someone in the regional channel is saying the same thing. The narrator in me reads it all as it scrolls. One person asks if anyone has made it back. Another answers that they have, that they got a bronze chest, that a snake thick as a bowl burst from the ground and wrapped them up and nearly strangled them to death before a wooden stick happened to wedge in its mouth, and that the snake shattered on its own after a few seconds, leaving a bronze chest in the hole it had crawled from. They swear they are not going back out, that one chest is enough. Someone asks a third person whether they got a chest too, and that person says they have not even left, that a beast bit off one of their legs and they are just waiting to die, that they will die either way, and that maybe the bottom 50 are drawn at random from everyone who returns empty-handed. A scatter of replies follows, telling them they have a good attitude, offering condolences, joking about waiting to die together. I watch the conversation in silence. Some people survived the beast tie but took wounds bad enough that they cannot move, which is why they sit in place and resign themselves to fate. And that is a warning to me too, since a serious injury means elimination at the next event. From the words of the one who got a chest, it sounds like everyone faced a different danger but found roughly the same contents inside the bronze chests. I had hoped to mine the channel for useful intel, but with every location and every guardian different, there is nothing here worth referencing. To keep myself from dozing off in the afternoon, I eat an orange, stash a few of the ones I picked this morning in my backpack, leave the rest in the treehouse, and toss one to Keiki. She eats it with enormous enthusiasm. I warn her not to drip orange juice on my shoulder, and she just chirps at me. I follow the stream upstream, a path I have walked many times, first before I planted the treehouse, then to gather green pebbles from the water, and I picked up a green stone block in the Black Bear Cave on top of that. Back and forth. I never noticed anything strange about this stretch on any of those trips. Most likely the silver chest appeared suddenly, the way the bronze one did. And maybe, like the leaning weeds before, the surroundings here will give me a sign, so I keep watch for any subtle changes I go. When the Black Bear Cave comes into view, I realize I have been walking in tight, total concentration for a long stretch and have already arrived. No red dot on the map, so for now there is no bear inside. Black bears travel day and night, so I cannot know whether this one simply has not come home yet or has already been turned into the backpack on my back. But caution never hurts. I keep my mind fixed on the map, my eyes on the cave's interior, and step inside on light feet. That strange wind sound rings in my ears again. There has to be a large hollow space under this cave, something like a karst cavern, and the air moving through it makes the sound, which means this might be the place to glimpse the tip of the iceberg of an underground world. The idea is nice, but I feel along the entire cave and cannot find even a small opening that connects anywhere, and the wind sound echoes from everywhere at once, so I cannot trace its source. Maybe there is no visible stone cavern at all, and I would have to knock an opening through with a pickaxe. But is this really where the silver chest is buried? The wind sound has been here since my first day, and by my own reasoning, the silver chest should be a fresh change to the surroundings, not a noise that has always existed. On top of that, my treasure-hunting red panda is showing zero reaction on my shoulder. In fact, she is snoring. This little fellow really is sleepy. I shake my head and decide to treat the wind sound as a backup, searching the river again first, and if I come up empty, I will wait for the compass to cool down and reset the direction. I walk back out and continue upstream along the bank, and very quickly the reminder fires. The one warning me not to leave the treehouse by more than 3 kilometers or something I do not want to see will happen. I have hit the boundary again. I am at the boundary but in no rush to turn back. I would never be dumb enough to step past the 3-kilometer line, yet I am still curious why I cannot leave the range at all. Is it that the treehouse can only protect us within a 3-kilometer radius? Within that radius, apart from the red dot at the center of the lake, there are no beasts left. And I wonder if that too is the treehouse is doing, or the mysterious voice's intent. I have a guess forming, but it is not fully shaped yet. I cast a long look at the ground past the boundary, the direction I came in from, which I crossed perfectly unharmed before, and can no longer return through. Then, it was the newbie protection period keeping me safe. Now it is the treehouse. I stopped chewing on it. Nearly 2 hours have passed, so I walk back to the Black Bear Cave, and standing at its mouth I use the compass a second time. Another crisp chime, and the needle settles pointing opposite the cave, toward the far side of the stream. The chest is across the water then, and I will have to cross. The stream is easy enough, not deep at all, and even here in the widened downstream stretch, the deepest part is only 30 or 40 centimeters. I am about to step in when I stop cold. What if the monster is not on the far bank, but right in the water? Walk in like that and I would be walking to my death, because 40 centimeters is shallow, but more than enough to drag at my legs and slow me to a crawl. I rub Keke's head roughly to wake her. She chirps her displeasure at being roused so violently. I lift her off my shoulder, hold her facing the stream, and ask her to feel for anything wrong in the water, since she found the last chest by scent and her intuition has earned my trust. She tilts her head, still groggy at being yanked out to work, then hops down, dips a paw into the water, turns, and shakes her head at me with a soft cry. Nothing. I frown, wondering if I am overthinking it, since neither Keke nor the map gives any warning. I smooth out my furrowed brow, lift her back onto my shoulder, pull off my shoes, and start across. The current is swift and bone-chillingly cold, numbing my feet within a few steps, and I cannot understand why the water runs this cold when the air outside is over 30 degrees. After 2 steps I stop. The further I go, the more panicked I feel, the same crisis sense I had when the vines were about to erupt, only weaker, like something dangerous is closing in on me. There is something in the water. There really is something in the water. I trust my gut and bolt, taking huge strides straight back. I have not reached the deep part yet, so running back is the fastest way to the bank. Just as I turn, a splash erupts behind me, like something rising from below, and Keke shrieks on my shoulder in a hoarse, sharp roar, nothing like her usual cute chirps, trying to scare off whatever is back there. I twist my head just enough to catch a glimpse out of the corner of my eye, and my pupils shrink to pinpoints. I sprint for the bank like my soul has left my body. A crocodile has surfaced in the middle of the stream, far larger than any normal one, big enough to remind me of an ancient monster from the late Cretaceous, the Deinosuchus, one of the largest crocodiles to ever live. No, not even a Deinosuchus was this big. This is a giant Deinosuchus, nearly 20 meters long, that had been lying along the streambed in line with the current, and as it rises the whole water level visibly drops. And on the map I have been watching like a hawk. There is no red dot lit up at all. My useless map cannot see a thing. What kind of trash creator function is this? It is a scam. I run for my life with that screaming in my head, reaching the bank in 4 or 5 strides. To my confusion, the Deinosuchus shows no intention of attacking, because if it wanted me dead, I never could have escaped. Not against a crocodile that strikes with terrifying speed and could turn me to minced meat with one bite in a death roll. It just watches me, the way the Lake Hart giant python watched me, quietly, with the same massive body that seems not to belong to this era. The one difference is that the giant python burned as a huge, blinding red dot on the map, while this Deinosuchus does not appear on the map at all. Same as Keke, who is on my shoulder right now baring her teeth and snarling at the crocodile to no effect, since she is simply too cute. The Deinosuchus slowly opens its enormous jaws. My expression goes grim, and I brace to run, and then I catch a flash of bright silver inside its mouth. A silver treasure chest. Inside this crocodile's mouth. I ask out loud whether we can please not play games like this. Keke chirps a question beside my ear. The Deinosuchus tosses its head and flings the silver chest onto the bank, where it lands at my feet with a heavy thud. Then it closes its mouth, glances at me with eyes tiny against its body, and under my wary, baffled stare sinks back to the stream bed, settling right back where it was rather than leaving. It was lying there the whole time, probably from the very first time I passed by here. It has to be a special existence like Keke, unbound by this world's rules. However little malice it showed, it is still a crocodile. Its demonic shape and sharp teeth enough to make me shudder, but for now it means me no harm, and I look at the chest at my feet feeling like I am dreaming. I have somehow walked away with a silver treasure chest, and its location is just insane.